Father God, we thank you, God. We thank you for what you're doing, God, in the midst, God. God, we thank you for each and every small business in this room, Lord God. We thank you for how you're going to bless their business, God, coming from 2021 all the way to 22, God. We thank you, God, and we bless you, God, for all the things and the many blessings, God. We thank you for Greater Southwest, God, the move of God upon Miss Linda, God, that she took the call, God, and she started the business, Lord God. And we thank you for it, God, and bless each speaker, God, even as they speak, God, in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
We have our awardees come in, be seated to join us. And first we will have Latasha and Todd Cummings. If you'll come in, let's give them a round of applause. Next, we'll have Linda Verticek with her husband. Next, we have Willie McIver and Jerome Brown. Claudia Ferguson with her husband Abdul. Next we'll have Jolene Mzwango with Terrence Sauls. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our MC, Ms. Sandra Broughton with Dallas Independent School District.
Good morning. Let's see if we can do this over. Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? Good morning. Awesome. It's so great to see everyone here. Everyone looks phenomenal, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you today for the 2021 9th Annual Women's Business Conference and Awards Luncheon. I am Stephanie Broughton. I'm an MWBE coordinator with Dallas Independent School District, and I'm so happy to be here with you today to celebrate these phenomenal women, as well as hearing from some amazing women. So we're going to have an amazing event today, and I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone that we will be hearing today. You guys ready? How exciting! Awesome. So we're going to kick this event off with our panel. And I want to introduce the moderator for that panel, Sandra Evans.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Could be good afternoon, maybe. I am Sandra Evans, and I am the founder and owner of Sandra TV Network. We're located in Dallas, Texas, and we're a platform where we showcase small businesses just like yours on global TV. We have multiple Roku channels, multiple Amazon, Apple, we're on Comcast, we're everywhere. And so thank you, Linda, for selecting me to moderate this panel today. You know, when I think about 2020, and the title of the stuff is fine, okay, and the title of this is really pivoting through the storm, right? And that, you know, we really thrive. Some people really thrive through change in 2020. But these panelists that are here today, they're on stage because they did some very unique things that we want to share with you today. So when I think about being intentional, how many of y'all are intentional? Everybody intentional? Put your hands in the air. Because we use that word very loosely. You see, you can be intentional every single day when you get up and you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you take a shower, you put on your makeup, you close out, and go about your day is being intentional. But I talk about something a tad bit different, and it's called courageous intent. When you're courageously intentional to actually step out of the norm and step into the unknown in order to prevail and to really thrive through a change. These ladies have absolutely demonstrated that from 2020 into today. So thank y'all so much for being here.
I am a lifestyle expert extraordinaire. I am an author, four-time author. I am a builder. I'm a franchise owner. I model. I am a mentor. I've done a little bit of everything, but those are some of my highlights outside of my nonprofit. It's Find One Reason to Smile, and today was one of those days I really have to smile today. But Find One Reason to Smile, where we help women and children of victims of domestic abuse and sex trafficking.
The pandemic, I launched DMX for DMATICS, where I'm a human resources consulting firm and I help employees be better. Demand excellence is how you achieve success. So in the middle of the pandemic, I started and launched successfully my HR business. So after 25 years of government employment, I courageously stepped out on faith and started doing something for me. So we often say performance improvement, but by the time a person is on a performance improvement plan, it's not really the employer's intent to improve them. It's usually their intent to document and remove them. And I would like to change that. I want to help employers make the employees better. And in the middle of what we're experiencing, the Great Resignation and the staffing crisis, it's more important to develop the people that we have. So when you think about employee excellence, I'm your excellence expert. DMX, where I demand excellence and I help you and your employees achieve success.
Hi, my name is Cavallack, and I am the owner of Cavallack Law. We are a full-service law firm. We're located in Oak Cliff. We've always been in Oak Cliff. We are an all-woman firm, so if you come in, you will only see women just killing it. We do real estate, anything that touches real estate. We help small businesses. We help people do estate planning. We do probate. And even though I don't love it, I am an excellent litigator, and I do love to win, so we do a lot of that as well. We're at Hampton in 67, and we spell Cadillac with one L. So our website is CADILAC Law. And I left all of y'all magnets. I know it's the end of the year, you only get like 1 or 2 good months on them, but you have our information there, and thank you for having me.
Okay, we don't organize, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stand behind them today. That'll make it easier for the distribution of the microphone. Because I want you all to hear what they have to say. So my first question that I'd like each of you to really address is, 2020 and the pandemic, we had never seen anything like that in our lives. We had never seen a time when you couldn't go nowhere. We were on house arrest for real, without the ankle bracelet, wasn't we? We were on house arrest.
What fell into my spirit? I am not going to be able to travel. That's the honest answer. But I never stopped traveling simply because my work and what I do, I touch so many people abroad. My nonprofit, I work with over in Zimbabwe and Gambia, so I have no choice but to travel. So that was my thing. I said, I'm not going to be able to touch as many lives as I was before. I still have things that are sitting in storages that are waiting to be shipped that weren't able to go overseas, at the top of 2020. So that was my first thought. Like, I'm not going to be able to touch my people, so.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. We're gonna come back, Anita, and talk about, you had these boxes and things on the dock. What kind of strategy you may have created for that. But Dee, I'd like you to address that.
So what fell into my spirit is I have been a wife for 24 years and a mother of 2, and I thought I hated my commute. And I would say, going from Frisco to Dallas is just the worst. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Well, when the pandemic came and I no longer had my commute, what I discovered, it wasn't the commute, y'all. It was the job that I didn't enjoy. And I realized for the first time in 25 years of federal service that it was not my commute to Dallas that I did not enjoy, that did not bring me purpose and fulfillment. It was actually the work that I was doing. So I was an analyst, and I was stuck with spreadsheets and numbers. Well, I'm a very big talker. I love people. Just to give you an idea, I'm the person who's over hospitality services at church. I love people. So being with my spreadsheets and my laptop didn't bring me joy, and I didn't recognize that fully until the pandemic made me be still with myself, and I didn't have the commute.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna tell y'all, being still with yourself, we don't really know how to do that. But the pandemic helped us to understand how to be still and listen and hear. And a lot of us heard things in 2020, but I'm wondering how many people actually took action on what you heard in 2020, given the pandemic. But Lauren, I would love to know, when you heard it's a shutdown, you can't go to work, can't do nothing, what did your spirit feel?
Excitement. I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to wear a wired bra. So that was like the best moment of my life. Also, I was really excited to be able to spend time with my kids, like having them come home. I'm one of those rare people, I love being around them. So I was like, yay, we get to hang out more. And then I was like, oh, how will I feed them if I don't have money coming in? But that came last. Like, I like to be alone with myself. I had been going through a big period of healing in my personal life already. And so it was like conducive to continuing that. And I was like excited and really like not driving. And when I was driving, no one was on the road. And that was like amazing. And then they showed us videos of the environment getting more clear after like 10 days. And I was like, this is so cool. What's been surprising to me is how resistant we all have been to just kind of go with that, right? Like, it's been great for us, yet the courts want to make us go back to court. That costs y'all money. Y'all have to pay me to drive. Y'all have to pay me to park. You have to pay me to wait for the judge. Why would we not do it online? So that actually has been a bigger shock to me than the joy of being able to stay at home.
All right, that's good. You know, we probably had more family members in 2020 than we ever had. So there was great things that actually came out of 2020. But Anita, I have to talk to you further about you saying that you had boxes that needed to get to places, and you say you never stopped traveling. I don't know how it probably took you 22 days to get somewhere, because she kept traveling. But what I would like to know is, what is the one thing that you did in your business differentially during this whole transition of the pandemic? Is there something that you did differently that kept you moving in business?
I learned more about myself during this time. I actually launched my fourth book, and it's actually a journal, and it's called Owning My Shit. And it's SHYT. But I started hearing more from my clients and my mentees, because I didn't have to go and see them, face to face. Everything was online, so I was able to talk to more clients every day. And there were so many things that were going on in their lives, and I'm like, we're more alike than we are different, as far as men and women. And we have a lot of issues. So I started writing down things that I lacked. And that's where I came up with Owning My Shit. And it's S is secure and sufficient. I realized that I was insecure in a lot of different areas. I didn't think that I was enough. And in order to have my smile, I must be secure and sufficient. In order to be happy, you must be healed. Why is simply yes. If it's not a hell yes, say no. It's just that simple. And that's what that why is, because in saying no, you find your yes. And I'm telling you, there are so many times that people pick up the phone with a need, and we have giver's remorse after we give so much of ourselves. It's okay, no, I can't, and say it with a smile, no, I can't, and be happy about it. And then you find like you have more left on the table and on your plate for you. And T was truth and transformation. In order to be transformed, we must walk in our truth. So I was able to have more time on my hands and give so much more, not just to my clients, but to myself. So it worked out for me.
That's awesome. That is awesome, because I think a lot of inner healing went on in 2020 because we spent quiet time with ourselves. And so I love your book. At first I was like, ooh, but then you explain it, and I like that. Don't y'all like that? Give a round of applause on the That is really good. And I commend you for continuing to travel. I commend you for pushing through, because even when you're in a storm, I think about a storm, you all. You could be in a storm and you could choose to pull over if it's hailing and wait for the storm to pass, but the real players in the room keep driving. Because if you keep driving, you'll make it through the storm. And so I applaud you for that. All right, now Dee, I gotta talk to you about, here you are working for the GOV, and have worked many years, whether it be a government job, whether it be a city job, it's a corporate job, because basically it's the umbrella of protection. And you, in the midst of a pandemic, said, I'm gonna sunrise my business. Tell me what went through your mind, heart, and spirit when you said, I'm gonna do it, not knowing how the pandemic was going to fare.
All of the losses that we experienced, each individual, whether it was family members or just time or connection, made me realize I had spent so much time not doing what I felt I should be doing, not walking and living in my purpose. So the fear of falling prey to the pandemic and maybe not surviving, do you want to live your life thinking what you should have done, or do you want to start doing what you've always wanted to do? So when I thought about how I grew up, I'm born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, in the deep fried South. My parents are still there. They go to a historical Black Baptist church, and that's how I was raised. One thing my mother always instilled in me was what doesn't look nice. She sort of instilled the excellence factor. Well, for a long time, she was the butt of my jokes. And then I started thinking, well, that's really how I live and how I operate. I try to do everything to the best of my ability. I have 2 teenagers. I try to force them to do everything to the best of their ability. So when you think about, if you demand excellence, then you're going to be successful. And we think about the pandemic, PPE, plan, pivot, execute. Well, how do you do that? So when you demand excellence, I trademarked the deed to success, where you design it, you educate, you execute, and then you document. Because if you know what excellence looks like, when you go on Yelp to say that you had the best dinner or the best shopping experience, you want to tell somebody about that because it was excellent. And if, to the opposite of that, when you have a horrible experience, that's where you go. So we know what excellence looks like, we know what it feels like, and in this business environment, it's time for us to embrace it and design it. And that's what I chose to do. I did not want to think about, if I don't see tomorrow, what I would have liked to have done while I was healthy. So it was fearful, but I decided to plan for it and started educating myself on entrepreneurship, on how to form the LLC, on what I needed to do to be an owner instead of a corporate employee. So I planned for it. So today's topic of PPE, plan, pivot, execute, either you're on your way in the storm, you're in the storm, or you're on your way out of the storm, which just tells us that change is constant and we have to be prepared for it.
Awesome, good. I like the PPE piece, because during the pandemic, I coined a statement and went out there on social, was telling people about, have you applied your business PPE? To be able to pivot, plan, and execute, you got to plan, pivot, execute. Pivot, plan, execute. That just doesn't happen in the pandemic. We should be pivoting all the time. Most of us did not have a digital component to our business in 2020. A lot of people went out of business, which I'm sad about. A lot of small businesses didn't make it. But you've got to be able to plan and execute, but you've got to be fluid, pivot, do what you need to do. I applaud you. Really, what Dee has done is created what I call an exit strategy. People like to talk about an exit strategy for your business. But do you understand that if you're under the corporate umbrella of protection, you need an exit strategy? You plan it in good times so that the execution is easy when you have to blow the dust off of that plane. All right, good job, Dee. All right, I know you're gonna give me something funny today, Lauren. I know you are. Lauren, I'd love to know, like, what did you do? Tell me something that you did during the pandemic that shifted your business.
had to stop taking in-person consultations, which was something that really I love. I like interacting with people too, and they would come to my office, and we would talk, and they would laugh maybe, and it would juice me up. And so I had to switch to the phone, which is nowhere near the same. And that was interesting. I had to send my paralegal home because she has 5 kids, and I did not want any of their germs germing their way to Germtown inside my office. So we made my office a safe place that you were allowed to come to if you came every day and you took these precautions. And then, she had to stay home in the germ factory. So I had to learn how to manage people online. I mean, she and I'm a manager, but we're like friends. There's 5 of us in this office together, and we're all women. And so, usually she's sitting close to me, and I just shout something to her. Hey, It's really hard to just shout to someone when they're in Cedar Hill and you're in Oak Cliff. So I had to learn to not, to write those down and not assault her with my, oh, did this get done? Did this get done? Did this get done? And, how do I make sure that work is actually getting done without physically interacting with my employees, which is something that brings me joy. As much as I love being at home, and I really do love to be at home, my second favorite place is my office, because that's where my friends are, and we get to help people every day. We go together, we hang out, we know each other's lives, we help our clients, we learn their lives, and we do all of these great things, and so that's a lot of fun for me, and that fun went away, so that was an adjustment. I had to do a trial online, like a full trial, not just a hearing. Hearings are really easy on Zoom. They're great. Hearings are like, hey, here's my issue, you argue about it, the judge makes a ruling. They're 10, 15 minutes. They cost our clients a lot of money, not when they're on Zoom, but when they're in person. So those were fine. That was the easy transition. But an actual trial where you have to objection, how do you object in front of your TV screen, right? And how do I point to my demonstratives, and how do I do that? So I had to adjust with that. But I found it all to be quite fun. And you said something that I think really helped me. Is I learned very, very, very young that life has just changed, right? And if any of you have children, and you look at them today, and you look at a picture of them when they were 3, you can visually see that life has changed, right? It is a constant change. And that was something I had accepted decades ago when I was involved in a head-on collision. And I had to learn how to walk again. So I already know that life is constant change. So when this big, huge change came, it didn't uproot me like it did other people. I anticipate change, right? It's gonna come. This was kind of exciting because it was a change that I didn't really know much about, right? So luckily, I have been able to really embrace that. And I would encourage everyone to work on that. If you're someone who's really into having things the way things are, go back and look at pictures of yourself 20 years ago, and then let's talk about, change and how often it happens.
We could sit up here all day and talk about this, and they could drop just some words of wisdom on us for probably, to 5 or 6 o'clock this evening, so we don't have that much time to spend. But I will tell you this, one of the things that I admire about these 3 women is that they literally accessed their blue rose moment. Now, what is a blue rose? And I gotta tell y'all this because I want you to walk away with this, and then they're going to give you all some words of encouragement and inspiration. But a blue rose moment does occur in your life, and during the pandemic, there were many blue rose moments. What do I mean? Red, yellow, and white roses show up at your doorstep every day, and that is our lives. Our lives are red, yellow, and white roses. Red, we didn't affiliate that with its love. Something beautiful, and yellow is like springtime or Resurrection Sunday or something. And white is kind of like deuces, you kind of out of here, that's how we look at it. But do you know that a blue rose exists, but it's unfamiliar. It's not anything that shows up at your doorstep every single day. A blue rose can live a long time without water. There is such a thing as a blue rose moment, and you all have those blue rose moments throughout your journey, but you have to be courageously intentional to lean in and accept that blue rose moment. These ladies leaned in during the pandemic and accepted that blue rose moment, so I applaud you all for that. Give them a round of applause. So we are going to close out this panel discussion this morning. Like I said, we could talk forever, but I want you all to give a word of encouragement and inspiration for these business owners that are out here about stepping in and being courageously intentional.
I've learned over the years to not be, I would say, a socialite. A lot of people say, oh, you're such a socialite. I said, no, I'm not. I'm very intentional about the rooms that I step into. Instead of just wanting to be in the room, why am I going? What purpose is it serving me? So I had to, when people would ask, I said, okay, well, I don't want to go to that. I don't want to go to that. Oh, I can go to that. We have to be, it has to be exclusive. It has to make sense versus us just being there just to say, I was there. No. Did it serve your purpose? So I have learned to be very intentional with everything that I do. And I also found out about this is what I teach my son, who's 28, he's an entrepreneur, and my daughter, who's a junior in college. And it's the 3 C's. It was hard for them to adapt, but it's 3 things that all of us need in our lives daily. And it's making a choice, taking a chance to see the change, or taking a chance to make a choice to see the change, or knowing in order for there to be change, you have to make a choice and you have to take a chance. So no matter how you flip it, those 3 C's exist.
I gotta get some of that. No, that's awesome, y'all. I like the C's. You're not gonna take it. Okay, that's good. I like it. Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I had something to say until I heard that. Well, like I said, I decided to stop fighting who I am and to demand excellence. And when you're talking about demand excellence, and I told you that when that D, the first D is design, there are 2 critical factors that every business owner should embrace if you want to achieve that excellence and have success. And it's very simple. Clear expectations, not just expectations, clear expectations that have been communicated. And then here's my word, not just the buzzword, accountability, enforced accountability. And what that means is you yourself or your employees, when you have guides and you have goals, when you reward poor performers, you disenfranchise the high performers. So when you have clear expectations that have been clearly communicated and you have enforced accountability, that success is much more likely to come. Success and excellence is not accidental. It requires commitment and consistency. So C is a great word for things in business. Consistency and commitment. Clear expectations and enforced accountability. Those are the 2 non-negotiable factors to achieving the success you deserve. So why settle when excellence is available?
It's your turn, Lauren. Let's tell it all. Inspiration, motivation.
Okay. I have 3 personal mottos. The first one is nevertheless she persisted, which is what Jeff Sessions said about Elizabeth Warren when she was reading out loud a letter from Coretta Scott King. And he wouldn't let her finish reading the letter. He forced her out of the Senate and said she kept going, and nevertheless she persisted. And then he allowed 4 men to read it in their entirety. So I've tattooed what I consider the feminist war cry of 2016, nevertheless she persisted on me. My other motto is, it's a lawyer's motto, it's come at me, bro. All threats are empty until someone actually comes through with something, right? People will threaten you all day,
okay, come at me. I'm here to play. But what I really want to share is my final one, and what I think is probably the most important one. And it was my motto before I knew it was my motto. It was already how I live my life. And then I saw this movie called Meet the Robinsons. I was watching it with my son while I was in law school as a single mother. And in it, the guy, he's this great inventor, all these things, and his motto is keep moving forward. And that has always been my motto. Keep moving forward. When I was a child, my mother abused me. I left, I moved forward. I put myself through college, I moved forward. I had a marriage fail, I moved forward. I went to law school, I moved forward. As long as you keep moving forward, you will keep being successful and keep being the woman you want to be or man you want to be. So, thank you.
Listen. Y'all gotta stand to your feet. This is gonna be interactive today. Stand up, you all, the panelists, and y'all stand up. Give them a round of applause for being trailblazers in the midst of a pandemic, showing you how to thrive through chaos, showing you how to thrive through change, showing you what it takes in order to prevail. These women did that. Some corporate, some own their own business. I challenge you today, thrive through the chaos. Be all that you can be. Everything you need is already inside of you. Step in and trust God. All right. So now we have a token of our appreciation for you ladies. We thank y'all for being courageously intentional to share your story, because you know there's power in story. And so each of you, is it the name on each one of them? Just go ahead, y'all pass it. You know, we tight up here this morning. You know, take one, pass it down. Okay, and so thank y'all again. I think you were courageously intentional to share your story. I challenge all of you to share your story. It'll make a difference in someone's life. Thank you.
Thank you ladies so much. And let's give Sandra a round of applause for letting me. Awesome job, ladies. This is wonderful. I told you guys we are in for a treat. We have some phenomenal women here today sharing their stories. And the theme of today's conference is surviving the storm. And my question for you is, how many of you know about that? How many of you know about surviving the storm? All right. And so during this particular panel, they shared some amazing information about how they pivoted and made changes. And one of the key words that I kept hearing was change, and how that's inevitable, right? In every aspect of our lives, whether it's our personal lives, our professional lives, change is inevitable. And our next speaker, which is our keynote speaker, can tell us a little bit about change, as she is the CEO and president of DART. So I'd like to welcome, and I'd like for you guys to give her a round of applause, Nadine Lee, president and CEO of DART.
I had to learn how to use the remote control. Well, I'm really delighted to be here, and you don't know me, but what you should know about me is that I care very deeply about advancing women. I've been doing a lot of mentoring and coaching of women in the transportation industry, and so it's really, really wonderful to see such a supportive group helping each other out here today. So I hope you all will always keep in touch with each other. If you're meeting new people, I hope you'll exchange cards, make plans for coffee, because you all will have this opportunity to build lifelong friendships through the work that you're doing with each other today. So kudos to you for joining this group. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening at DART, because there's a lot of change happening at DART, speaking of change, and so I wanted to just give you a little bit of an update, but since we're talking about surviving the storm, I thought maybe I should start out by talking a little bit about where we've been. So pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, I tried to make this a little bit more graphical because it was just a slide with words, but that's why it's written that way, not pre-post-pandemic or pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I was trying to be funny. I'm not sure that I achieved that. So let's talk a little bit about where we were in spring of 2020, because I think at this point we kind of all think we remember what the spring of 2020 looked like, but a lot of things have changed since then. And so again, speaking of change, I think there's just so much to talk about. Of course, in March of 2020, the economy shut down, and there was, at least for DART, there was a steep ridership decline because travel patterns changed. People weren't going to work. If they didn't have to actually go to an office, they stayed at home. Of course, all of our operators and our mechanics still showed up to work because we needed them to be on site in order to get the buses moving and the trains moving and to actually operate them out on the street. Along with that, there was a lot of misinformation about transit and how dangerous transit is. It's a super spreader, right? But it clearly wasn't, because we all know now today that most of the people who work in transit are actually getting COVID outside of work. And so, but that is sort of the stage that was set for us, and we have to overcome that perception that transit is a dangerous place to be in terms of the spread of COVID. The other thing that happened, of course, in May of 2020 was that we had major civil unrest due to the murder of George Floyd, and that was a huge, huge issue for us, because I think that reset everybody's minds on what it means to be more equitable in this society, what it means to get rid of institutional racism, and how are we going to actually change the way we do business. And so, I'm actually excited to see that there are a lot more people of color showing up on TV these days. I'm seeing a lot more people making commentary. And by the way, if you don't follow this podcast, there's a podcast called Our Body Politic, which is awesome. All women of color who comment on that podcast, and it's a wonderful, wonderful program. So fast forward to today, here's where we are right now. The economy is doing crazy things. Nobody can explain why sales tax receipts are at an all-time high. We certainly didn't expect it a year ago. We all, kind of cut back a little bit because we thought with everything shutting down, nobody was going to have any money. So now, maybe because everybody couldn't travel and they couldn't really go out and spend money last year, all of a sudden now they're feeling, their fingers are a little itchy and they want to just spend money like crazy. So sales tax receipts are actually higher than expected, at least at DART. I think that's true across the board. Ridership is trying to recover. Of course, it's very heavily impacted by return to work and remote work policies at all the businesses. We are experiencing right now about 52% of our riders are back on the system. And so that's just, it's just the reality that we have right now, and we have to figure out how to deal with it. Speaking of adaptability and trying to pivot. So, I think on the heels of the civil unrest and the pandemic, I think, there are many of us in the transit industry who really want to recover in a better way than we were before. We don't want to go back to the old ways of doing business. We want to do things that are really different and really try to address some of the major inequities in our system. Because we all know that transportation contributed heavily to things like segregation and people not having opportunities. So this is really important to us, and we want to change the way we do business. So speaking specifically about DART, we have some projects that are under construction, like the Silver Line, which is in the north part of the region. The D2 subway project, we've been asked to sort of pause that for a second and just kind of see if we need to do a little bit more work on the east end of that alignment. That's a project that's really expensive, and we have some operational issues with the alignment that they're proposing. In addition to that, of course, new leadership at DART. It's not just me, but we actually have a whole bunch of vacancies at the senior levels of the organization that we have to fill. So we're going to have a lot of new people coming in, which is, right now a little bit stressful, I think, for people because we're understaffed. But it's also an exciting time because it means that we can bring in new ideas and new people who can actually help us accomplish our goals, again, in a different way than we did before. We definitely have a much bigger focus on our bus system and also on our rider experience. I'll talk a little bit more about both of those things in a second. And as I said, the sales tax receipts are higher than budgeted, so we're excited about that. In addition to that, we also, as many people experienced, we were able to get a lot of the COVID relief funds from the federal government last year, and the receipt of those funds helped us offset our sales tax revenues, so we actually can preserve some of our sales tax to do something else with. So right now, DART is sitting on about $400 million that we can use to do something new and exciting. So that's all good, really, really positive stuff. Let me talk a little bit about DART bus riders, because as I said, we have a big focus on bus right now. DART bus riders are mostly people of color. 75% of them don't have access to a car. And this is really important because a lot of times when we talk about trying to improve a rider experience or try to improve mobility, these are the people we're talking about. We're talking about essential workers. We're talking about people who don't have very many options, and the options they do have aren't very good. And so if we really want to create more equity in the system, and if we want to provide more access to opportunities, we've got to address how we provide bus service and how we provide transit to people. The majority of our riders are low income, particularly on the bus side. It's also high on the rail side, but not as high as on bus. A lot of our riders ride, every single day. So they're taking transit to get to their work. And 43% of them still pay cash. So for all of the efforts that we've put into creating mobility or mobile applications and electronic payment and things like that, it's not actually helping everyone. 40% of our riders probably can't afford to put in a whole bunch of cash on a tap card or something like that. So they need to preserve that liquidity. And so that's really important for us to recognize going in. We have to understand our customers. So, let's see here. Enter DART Zoom. The title of my slide, or my presentation, was called DART Zoom to the Rescue, because I think that DART Zoom is one of the most exciting things that we have going on at DART today. It is the most transformative thing that DART has undertaken, and it's, what it is it's the redesign and the restructure of our entire bus network. What we've done is we've actually looked at data on where people are traveling to, where the job opportunities are, where the residences are, and we've reconfigured our bus network to try to bring people to those destinations in a more direct way. So we straightened out some of our routes. They're not going to wind around all these different streets anymore. And we've also decided that we want to provide more service and higher frequency. So, for example, a bus coming around every 15 minutes instead of every 30 minutes. We want to do that where most of the people are going to ride it. So 2/3 of our ridership, our pre-pandemic ridership, actually has access to what we call our core frequency routes. So this is the most extensive service change in the agency's history. We've been working on it for several years now, and of course gathered a lot of rider input to try to design this new network. Our goal is really increasing ridership, but really, we always talk about ridership. That's like an output, right? It's something that we measure, but it's not the only thing we're trying to do. Increasing ridership means that we're also providing better access to jobs, better access to education, healthcare, all kinds of services that people need. That's really what we're trying to do. So this DART Zoom change, and it's really important for all of you to understand this, especially if you know people who take the bus or if you take the bus yourself. This is launching on January 24th. Every single bus stop, there's like 7,000, or actually right now there's 10,000 bus stops in the system. We're going down to 7,000 bus stops. Every single bus stop is going to change in some form, either the sign or the routes that serve that bus stop. So if you know somebody who's taking the bus, tell them to come and talk to DART because we need to get the word out. And it seems like it may be too early, but January is just around the corner. With the holidays and everything coming up, we want to make sure every single person knows about the changes that are coming. And we'll be reaching back out to the Black Chamber of Commerce to make sure we get the word out as well. Sorry, I didn't advance the slide here. What we're trying to accomplish is to provide higher frequency where we have the highest concentration of riders on our system. And then because we want to make the fixed route bus system as successful as possible. And then in the areas where we need to provide coverage, we need to provide service, but we don't have a lot of people riding, we're actually going to move to what's called GoLink, which is a microtransit service. It's what we call demand responsive. So you can actually, it works a little bit like an Uber Pool or a Lyft line, where you can call and you may or may not have a shared ride. The goal is to have a shared ride, but the idea is that you can call them either on the phone, if you don't have a smartphone, or you can actually call it up on an app on a mobile application on your smartphone so that you can actually call that ride when you need it, and they should be able to come pick you up near your house somewhere, like on the order of 10 to 15 minutes max. So we've been operating the Golding service across the service areas so far. I think we operate like 20 some odd Golding zones right now, and we're going to be expanding it later once we launch Start Soon. I mentioned the number of bus routes that we're increasing frequencies on. Today we only have 7 of those routes, and on January 24th we're going to start operating 22 of the more frequent routes, so at least 15-minute service all day. That's really exciting because, like I said, most of our riders will have access to those particular routes, which means you can walk out your door and pick up a bus within 15 minutes. And that's like huge in terms of trying to get people to different destinations. So I mentioned the GoLink expansion. We are adding 13 new zones for GoLink. So these are the zones where we're actually, again, we're trying to provide the coverage so that people have access to transit service where there may not be as many people taking transit. And so we're going to do our best to provide that demand responsive service for them. And for the GoLink zones, we've now added weekend hours as well as expanded hours, because in some areas we just don't currently have additional hours to go on the weekends and stuff like that. So those services just aren't available. But because we're trying to create more access for everybody, we have to expand the number of hours that we provide our service. And so this is all about pivoting and trying to adapt and change to try to address what our customers are telling us they need. So as I said before, this is the Dart Zoom. I'm skipping through all my pages. I'm going to turn new pages here. So the Dart Zoom network redesign, as I said before, we're going up to 22 core frequent routes across our system. We're keeping our operating hours from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. That allows us to capture shift work so that people can still take transit to any jobs, even if they're working like third shift. All of our local routes are operating every day of the week in recognition of the changing travel demand, and we also have more midday and evening service to cover our non-work trips. And so the other thing that the pandemic has taught us is that people don't need to travel in the peak hours anymore. It's not about the travel during rush hour. We've seen a huge increase in travel in the midday, and so we've realized that it's really important for us to provide more service in the midday so that people can actually travel for all of the non-work trips. So it's actually, work trips are, we base everything that we've done in the past on the work trip. When, like all the big highways, all the extra service has always been done during the peaks of the day. But now we're realizing, gosh, we could capture so many more riders and so many more trips if we just actually boosted our service in the midday. So it made a lot of sense. So on January 24th, we're starting this process of transforming the bus system for the Dart service area. We have, as I said, adapted the route network to get people where they need to go, and we're providing more service to make it more convenient, and we're of course trying to speed up this service by providing a more direct connection for everybody. As I said, straightening out the routes so that you're not having to wind around small neighborhood streets. And of course, as I said, this is going to result in increased access to opportunities for people, because that's really what we're trying to achieve, is better access. And actually, as we did the analysis, we've increased the access to opportunities by transit for every single demographic group of interest. The next thing is I just wanted to talk really quickly about what else we're doing, because Dart Zoom is only the first step. It's one thing to do the change to your network, it's another thing to add more service, but at the end of the day, we still have a lot of things to do to speed up our buses, because buses get stuck in traffic too. And so the next phase of Dart Zoom is going to look at capital improvements on our roadway system to see what we can do to actually improve the speed and reliability of our trips. And then in addition to that, there's what I call the waiting experience, which is what is the experience of all of our riders when they're standing at the bus stop? Do they have shelter? Do they have lighting to make them feel safe and secure? Do they have seating in case they can't stand for 15 minutes? All of those things are really important because we want to take care of everybody throughout the entire trip. And so we want to create a system where we're making ongoing investments in our bus system because we really know that if we actually boost the utility of the bus system, that more people will use it, and we can actually take better care of everybody. I always tell people that, you know, when transit is your only option, it should be the best option it can be. So we really want to provide a service that people can and will use. The other thing that we're doing is we're developing a customer experience vision and philosophy that's going to define the commitment that DART is going to make to all of our riders. I know this seems like a novel idea to listen to your customers, but it's very hard, I think, for government agencies to pivot and think about the customer, because everything we do sometimes in government is designed to make our lives easier, not the customer's life easier, but that's really what we're trying to change. I mean, we want to use this customer experience vision to kind of set our standard of care. How are we going to take care of our passengers? So we spent an afternoon with our board on August 13th just talking about what it means to provide a good experience to people. This is the phrase that I've been using to explain to people what we're trying to accomplish. An effortless, frictionless, and delightful journey. If you think about that, what that means is, if it's effortless, it means you have the information that you need at your fingertips or at the station or stop at any time. It's easy to get to the stop. It's accessible to you. It's a welcome environment. If it's frictionless, that means that from point A to point B, you don't experience delays. You don't experience breakdowns. What does it take for us to make sure that our buses and our trains are working so that you won't get stopped in the middle of your trip? And of course, if it's delightful, that means you might actually sometimes have fun on it. So we hope that you'll have fun. You know, this manifesto that we're writing is really trying to set the foundation for a roadmap that will describe all of the improvements and investments that DART intends to make over the coming years to improve the customer experience on DART. So I always tell people that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to cultivate a long-term relationship with the people who ride our system. I think it's really important to help people understand that this is a courtship. You know, we want to be a lifelong partner. We want people to love transit. We want people to love DART. So that's the last slide I have, but I just wanted to take a couple of seconds to just talk a little bit about the panel discussion that we had earlier and just your conference, your luncheon and conference in general, because I think that, you know, as I was listening to everybody talking on the panel, I was just so impressed by the commonalities that I heard from people, all the commonalities about a sense of purpose and understanding your why. You know, really this desire to help people, which I thought was really just so, you know, so endearing and so heartwarming. And this idea of everybody supporting each other. And as I mentioned earlier when I first started, I mean, I love seeing women supporting women. It's a really important aspect of us being women, I think. And you know, I think this concept of adaptability, which I think women are really, really good at, I think that the future is going to be led by women. And I think that's really important because I think we're going to see a lot of success if we're just supporting each other and making sure that we all see each other's success and celebrate each other's success. So I hope that all of you will be courageously intentional, and I hope you will take the time to stay in touch with all of your friends that you've met here, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cecilia Rutherford, and I am the Assistant Director of Engineering and Construction for the Public Works Department of Dallas County. I am so happy to be able to join you today. This is my first Women's in Business Leadership Conference, so I am excited to be able to give remarks today on behalf of Dallas County's leadership and management team. Let me first say that we are fortunate to work with this incredible organization and alongside Linda Gray as president of the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. We also want to say congratulations to all of the winners. Please join me in thanking Linda and celebrating all of these incredible winners. By participating in today's conference, you have committed, as I have, to diversity and inclusion. You are here because you want the exposure that is so critical to business success. So I encourage you to take advantage of the networking opportunities that will lead to business opportunities. I believe that as you work with Dallas County and all of the community organizations represented here today, you will find those opportunities. Our mission in Public Works is to improve the quality of life of the customers by effectively planning, developing, implementing, and administering approved regional transportation projects. To fulfill this mission, we strive to be a recognized leader in regional transportation and an overall valued partner to our cities. To fulfill the aspirations and direction of the county, our department also partners with other county departments like administration, purchasing, and small business enterprise. Through trust, commitment, and shared vision, we are able to work together to inform our existing and potential business partners about our diversity goals. More importantly, we continue to be able to build on our successes. Our procurement and SB teams are committed to helping small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses remain competitive during the competitive business process. My director, Alberta Blair, and I are grateful for the opportunity to share with you today about our philosophy here in Dallas County Public Works. We want to thank you for your leadership and for giving us a chance to be with you today. I'd like to acknowledge the Dallas County staff who are here and ready to fully engage with all of you on the subject of doing business with Dallas County. Dallas County team, please stand so we may see you. Done a great job. To this process. I love the theme of the conference, surviving the storm, pivot, plan, and execute. It made me immediately think that in order to survive the storm, you must first be prepared. To pivot, we must be adaptable. To plan, we must have an eye for the future. And to execute, we must implement. So let me close by saying that I am excited for the possibilities ahead. Dallas County is eager to recognize your achievements today, and we wish you continued success in all of your business endeavors. We can do great things together and in support of our small business community, and Dallas County is proud to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, for those kind words and information about Dallas County. Thank you again for your sponsorship as being a title sponsor for this amazing conference. And I also want to thank Linda Gray for her leadership with the Chamber. She is not only the president, but she's also the founder of the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. So I'd like you guys to give her a round of applause for her leadership. As we go through today's program, we are going to keep going on, and now we are about to acknowledge our public officials. If there are any public officials here during today's event, would you please stand to be acknowledged? And now we're going to move forward to give our awards for today. As we acknowledge some phenomenal women for today, we're going to, well, I had this video, but we don't have any sound, but this was actually a pretty amazing video, and basically she's just talking about acknowledging and accepting the fact that you are being acknowledged and that you are worthy of an award. So I wish we had sound for that, but we don't. But that's pretty much what she's saying. So I pretty much did the closed caption for the video. So we're going to get started with our presentation of awards. And our first award goes to the Nonprofit of the Year. We are Her Leadership Academy, Latasha Cummings. Latasha, did you want to say a few words?
Thank you for the opportunity to recognize the work. Thank you to my family and my friends and our staff and organization. We are heard. I'm so humbled.
Thank you so much. Our next award goes to the Rising Star of the Year, Sharp Bright Janitorial, Claudia Ferguson. Claudia, did you have a few words?
First, I'd just like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve and to be a part of the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to my husband, Ms. Linda, for seeing potential in me, and all of you all for being here today, and I'm very honored and thank you.
Our next award goes to Small Business of the Year, B&B Services, Inc., Linda Burchak. Linda, did you?
On behalf of B&B Services, thank you for this award to the Black Chamber. And we appreciate what we do in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for the transportation industry. We clean passenger trains, and we've done so for about 16 years now. And so it's possible for any woman in our audience, in our community, to reach out, dream, execute, and then remember dignity. Your name stands behind what you do. Set an example for others. Thank you.
Our next award goes to the Chamber Member of the Year Award, Akari Management, Jolene Motondo.
Thank you, Stephanie. I could stand here and talk about a Akari Management Group, but I think this is a wonderful time for me to say thanks. First of all, did you see me walk in style with Terrence? Yeah. Terrence, thank you. Thank you so much for escorting me in here. I would like to thank Linda Gray, the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. Linda, you have been an inspiration, a motivator to me. I don't think if you know how much you have been and played a role in my life and in my business. So thank you so much, and thank you for what you do with this chamber. I would like to take this time to thank all the public entities that are in the room that have an MWBE Hub, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program. My company is a true beneficiary of such programs. Having such programs in place is what made me understand that I could be a business. I could start a business and I could excel, and there was opportunities out there. So for all those public entities, thank you so much. The one that played a major role in my life is Dallas Independent School District, because that's the organization that I was affiliated with and knew about the MWBE program. Within Dallas ISD, there's a very special person who motivated me, who mentored me all the way through, it's a woman, it's Ann Holmes Petit. So for me, it would not be right for me to accept this without Annie. So Annie, would you please stand? This is a true, example of women supporting women, women encouraging women, women lifting women. And I'd like to encourage all the women in here, no matter what your position, whether you own a business, you work somewhere, whatever it is that you do, support other women. And last but not least, to my very courageous team, please stand up. And Lucy, please stand up. This is the Akari team, and I appreciate you. I thank you so much, and I hope you're learning so much from this women's conference that you can take home, you can take back to work and continue excelling. I believe so much in you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all.
Our next award goes to Media Relations of the Year, Willie Mae MacGyver.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Willie Mae MacGyver, and I want to thank the Chamber as well as Miss Linda. She's just wonderful. I know she has truly blessed a lot of people, and she continues to do so through her endeavors. I've been in media for 41 years. I have a syndicated gospel radio show, Beyond the Praise, that airs in 30 markets around the country, and my local affiliate is 1040 AM KGGR. I also am a account executive for KGGR, so if there's anyone interested in doing any Christmas buys from your businesses, we're available to accommodate you. Then I have a company, Covenant Media Group. It's a media marketing, branding, PR company, and I work with businesses, churches, nonprofits, ministries, helping them in those areas. What I like about what I do is that I'm able to help people. I'm in the business of helping people. I'm a Christian, and I'm able to also share my faith and my experiences with individuals that I come in contact with on a daily basis. So I'm very grateful for this award, and I'm honored to be a part of the Chamber, and glad that the Chamber is also part of KGGR. We have a partnership with the Chamber. We promote the businesses in the Chamber on our station. It's just an honor and privilege to be a part of it. Thank you again.
Surprise, surprise. So, are you going to come from there? Okay. Because I was going to say, she's an MC during the day and an MWBE coordinator. So I'll let her come.
Well, they always say you save the best for last. So having said that, it gives me great honor to present this award on behalf of the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce to Stephanie Broughton, who is the MWBE coordinator and have been, that I know of, for at least the last 5 or 6 years. She is an amazing individual to know personally. She's even greater to know as a business professional. Whatever you need when it comes to MWBE certification, how to do business with Dallas Independent School District, she's the key person. So before you leave today, you need to tap on her shoulder, get her information, and if you're not able to because the line is too long, it is in the program. But reach out to her, because any question that you have about certification, she can answer it. So it gives me great honor to present to her this award for MWBE Coordinator of the Year.
it's a true honor. I truly do have a passion for what I do. I love what I do, and I believe that it shows with every person that I talk with and every person that I help. And I'm just grateful to be among so many phenomenal and amazing women today. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to thank Dallas Independent School District, Joanne, for believing in me and giving me a chance. You know, I wasn't originally a diversity professional, so it just shows that if you give somebody a chance, no matter what, you know, they can shine. So I'm shining. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to take a group picture. Ms. Cheryl Friday, if she would come up and just say a little few words about the marketplace vendors here. You can't miss her. She is beautiful today. She is stunning.
Let's give them a round.
It's an honor to be here today. Share a little bit about the marketplace, that we all have a blessed opportunity to be entrepreneurs and have our own. I just want to share a little bit about the definition of a marketplace. And a marketplace is an open market, and we all actually are in the economy of the activities of our businesses as entrepreneurs. We're able to serve and render sales and purchases from our customers as we are in the marketplace. So what I would like to share with you today, as we are so beautifully gathered here today, in our marketplace today, let's make sure before we leave today that we are actually supporting our vendors that are here. And so that way we will make sure we'll walk away with some beautiful things and continue to support them and as ourselves in our endeavors in our culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for that. And as she said, don't forget to visit our vendors that are in the back. Today, before you leave, I've already had my eye on a couple of things that I know I'm going to get before we adjourn for today. So now we're going to start off with our speakers. And they're going to be talking about part of the theme for today's Women's Conference, pivoting, planning, and executing. So I just want to go ahead and make sure that we're all set up before I introduce our next speaker. Okay, I'd like to welcome Sherilyn Dorsey. She's going to be talking about pivoting in a pandemic. Sherilyn.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to see you all. I expected this to be in a room, and I was scheduled as a workshop, so I came to make you work. So although you are chilling and chatting, please be prepared to take some notes. So grab out your phones. If you have pencil and paper, please take that, because I am going to drop some jewels that I am certain you're going to want to take with you. Okay, so can we agree to do that? Yes, ma'am. All right, and let's hold each other accountable to these things. Here's part 2 of what I need to tell you before we get started. This is my second screen. I expected to have another screen here, so if you catch me looking down, that's just me catching up on some notes. But I am able to field any questions that you may have, and we can absolutely elaborate as needed. Deal? Deal. All right. Okay, so today we are talking about pivoting in a pandemic. And that's really what this whole thing has been about. We are absolutely feeling the pivot in this pandemic. What life has taught us is whether we want to or not, change is inevitable. Is that correct? Absolutely. So how we adjust to the change will determine our outcome of the change. So we are here to be intentional about what it is that we want to do. We're here to acknowledge that a pivot is happening, whether we wanted to or not. And we are leaning into it and maximizing the opportunity. Yes? Yes. Yes, indeed. So let's jump right into it. All right. First of all, y'all see my little animation. I'm so proud. So no assistant, nothing like that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about who I am. I'm so grateful to be a part of this conference. First of all, I'm so thankful to you, Linda Gray, for this. Admittedly, this is my first time meeting and even knowing of the chamber. I live in Frisco, but I'm so grateful for this space that she's created. And it's a good thing that the world is catching up, right? It's kind of sad that it took a tragedy like George Floyd for something that we knew all along was happening, right? And we've been telling them, right? But now that it's on TV, right, it has been caught on video, they can't deny it, right? Even though it's been on TV, hasn't it? It's been in the news, hasn't it? It's been in the papers, and we have pictures of years and years ago of atrocities and traumas happening to all of our ancestors, right? But for whatever reason, this was a moment of pivot. And I'm so grateful that people, like all of us in this room, have created a space that we can be safe to be ourselves, that we can lean into one another when we aren't being acknowledged or affirmed by the world, but we understand our worth, and we know that what we have and who we are is of value. And we don't need the qualification of anybody else for us to know that, but it does feel good sometimes when it's acknowledged. So we appreciate you, Linda, for doing that. Thank you so much to my fellow entrepreneur, the Adrienne Maddox, who told me about this event. We are in a chamber in Frisco, and she said, Sherlyn, I think this will be a great opportunity for you. This is what you do, and I'm so grateful and appreciative to her for this opportunity. So let me get a little bit more into me and who it is that I am. Again, I am Sherlyn Dorsey, and the very first thing you see up there is that I am a woman. If you haven't noticed that, I consider that to be an asset. I love our creative minds. I love how it is that we lean into opportunities. I love the way that we communicate with one another. I love the camaraderie we see in things. I love the vision it is that we carry. So I lean fully into that, and I consider that to be an asset. So I am first a woman. From that womanhood, I'm married to my high school sweetheart and the man of my dreams, Gerald, back there. We celebrated 22 years. I just landed in town about 10 o'clock last night, so stay with me. Stay with me. And from our union, we have 3 amazing daughters. And I am passing this on to them. I've been very intentional about how I raise my children because I understand that words don't teach. That we learn through the clarity of action, right? So we support and lean into our sisterhood. We support and lift up one another. And I show my daughters that. And I'm so grateful to have a man that supports and understands the power of our femininity. I am also a CEO. Now that title is sexy, isn't it? But I sweep the floors, I mop. So it's fun and it's a sexy title as an entrepreneur, but you roll your sleeves up and you're the everything, right? You're the chief everything officer, right? But I think that that's an asset as well because when you go to do certain things, you have knowledge of experience, right? So before you hire that assistant, you were the assistant first, right? So before you hire an accountant, although we may not be experts, you won't take our money, will you? We know the program should be showing up as balance, right? So I am also the CEO. I'm keenly aware of things that go on around me and in my business. Also, I am an author. I wrote a book called You're More Than Their Mother. And a long time ago, I realized that while being a mother is an honor, I'm more than their mother. I was a woman before I was their mom. And sometimes we get lost in motherhood because I don't know about you all, but I know oftentimes, especially in our community, and that's Black people, we love to say, I don't care if I don't have, as long as my children do. Have any of you all ever said that before? Yeah. I used to carry that around and say that with a banner, I don't care if I have. And I realized how foolish that was about my children. Listen, we all gonna have. In my house, our motto, our mantra is we'll all live our dreams. Right? So if there's one piece of bread, we don't cut it 5 ways. Because I'm hungry too. Right? And if I'm not here to show you, then what? And if I lose you, what will I do? So what I understand is that I'm teaching my children their value by the value I place on myself. So by proxy, they're learning how to be a woman, how to be a mom, how to be an entrepreneur. I'm not tied to what they do with their life. That's their journey. I'm tied to the lessons I teach them along the way. Right? So I'm an author as well. So I put everything I figured out in a book. right? And I realized that it was the thing that brought me to this moment, that I get to travel all around the world and speak, that I get to mom these amazing girls, that I get to be married to my husband. I'm doing too much. Hold on, y'all. Let me get it back right here. Can you all still hear me? Yes. Okay. I made this a good day. You see that sister coming to help me out? Lean in. I know I need the help. Okay. You all said you can hear me, right? I know how to raise my voice. Did I tell you I'm a mom? All right, so that's who it is that I am, and that's what brings me to you today. As a successful entrepreneur and professional now, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but let's break down exactly what it is that we'll talk about. First, we're going to define pivot, right? Let's get a universal understanding of what we'll talk about, and we'll springboard off of that. Next, we'll talk about pandemic problems. We'll talk about pandemic problems. Listen, when it first happened, we were all shook up. Because we kind of all started out like, yes, I love this, right? I can work from home, I can get that project done I wanted to, I get to spend more time with my kids, right? What are we in year 203, something like that? And I'm like, Lord, I'm ready to go, right? When will this be over? When will we be able to get back to our normal or unredacted way of life, right? So we'll talk about that because those things are real and they affect how we show up every day, right? Right, so then we'll talk about pandemic pros. You heard a lot of that up here today. And it's important that we acknowledge the benefits that come out of this thing so you know how to use that to carry you to your next, right? Okay, the next thing we'll talk about is pivot to profit. We all love what we do. We all love helping people, but we all got to pay mortgage or rent some way, right? So we need to get our money. And I don't make no qualms about getting your money, okay? So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about pivot proliferation, right? So increasing by way of the pivot. We'll talk a little bit more deeply about that. All right, so per the internet, it says that pivot means the central point or shaft on which a mechanism turns or oscillates. Now this is important to me because when I thought of pivot, well first let me ask you, what do you think of? What did you think of when you heard the word pivot? Just shut up, or shift, turn, right? That's just initially what I thought about, was shift. But I didn't think about the anchor and that it allows things to turn, right? So I thought that was so fascinating, and the reason it's fascinating to me, and I'm paralleling to us in this room, is because we have to be anchored in our why. We have to be anchored, we have to be unmoved. It doesn't matter the pandemic, the pressure, the people. Our why has to remain solid. We'll adjust accordingly, but if you don't know your why, or if you're shaking on your why, it wasn't the pandemic that shook you or took you out of business. You took you out of business. Own it. Own it. Be accountable for what it is that you do and don't do. Because whether you do it or you don't do it, the outcome is yours. Right? It doesn't matter. So be so anchored in your why and nimble in how you bring your product or service to market. So for me, the name of my company is called People Development and Training. And that is a corporate training company. My competitive advantage was in-person training. My pitch had everything to do with how more impactful in-person training was versus virtual or video training, it's called CBT, computer-based training, right? So let's think about that for a second. When you go on a job and you have some training, if it's computer-based, are you paying attention the whole time? Are you rewinding and just going to get the answer and put it down? Does the training that you take on the computer, does it usually affect your behavior? If you got to think that long answer. The answer is no, it doesn't. It really doesn't, because you're kind of sitting there and you kind of split focus. You're on your phone, you're thinking about what you should or could be doing, right? Versus if you had someone in front of you who's engaging with you, You do things like what you're doing now. I see you nodding. You eat and you come back up and listen. You laugh. You hit your girlfriend and say, girl, yes. Right? You got some call and response going. Right? So you're going, hey, so what you'll do is you'll come out of this room and you'll go, man, I like the way Sherilyn said that. And I'm going to think about it, right? So now we're talking about a change in behavior because once you know, you can never not know. Right? And I know you know because I told you. Right? So that was my competitive advantage. When the pandemic comes, what should I do? Right? What can I do? What would I have to do? Because that's how I walk in the room. That's how I sold my training. That's how I sold my services. Well, I'm very firm in what it is that I believe or my why. I do what I do because I know that training or communication, which is what I see training as, is the caveat to everything. It's the caveat to everything. And if you think it's not, it's the thing that literally can solve world peace and start World War III. It's just about how you communicate with one another. If I come to you and tell you, you know, I think that you need to go out front. Right? You go, oh, what's going on? Why? Why do I need to? Or if I came to you and said, I think you need to go out front. You know, everyone say, come on. Right? Right? You're ready to either fight or you're ready to lean in. To say, oh, is everything okay? Do you need something? Right? But it's kind of in the way that I communicate. Training is a form of communication. I'm rooted in it. I know that it's the caveat to behavior changes, which affects productivity and effectiveness, which ultimately affects your bottom line, right? I can tie it all in together. I speak for a living. Don't worry about it. Just trust me on that, right? Well, when I realized that had to change, that the way that I delivered my service changed, what I realized is my why was strong. I just wanted to change how it is I delivered it. So my messaging didn't change. I just said, now I sell virtual trainers, right? And here's how we can do it. I'm not going to put you on a CT or computer-based training. Let's go live. Let's go live and so I can get an angle it that way, right? But I was rooted. The reason I was able to pivot in that moment is because my why was solid. My question is your why solid? Okay? All right, so let's talk about some of the pandemic pros. Okay? It's all good, right? I know that when it first hit, like I said, we were all kind of like, oh wow, what is this? But we leaned in. We were excited to kind of get a reprieve from our day-to-day, be it a commute, be it hustling on the phones or going to networking meetings or jumping airplanes, whatever it is that looked like. But the reality is, we kind of like knowing and, what do you call it, being in control? Right? Being in control. We want to know when something starts and stops so we can start anticipating and planning around that. Well, a lot of the reason people are burnt out, depressed, frustrated, angst is because we don't know when this will be over. Right? We don't know when we will be able to lean back into what we consider a normal lifestyle instead of this reductive behavior and showing up, right? But what happened is, in this pandemic, what it illuminated for us is our inefficiencies in business. It illuminated for me that I should have had this in place already. Yes. This is something that I actually knew. But remember how I told you I was a CEO? And I go to important meetings and sit at all the boardroom tables? But I also sleep, right? I was busy doing one or the other. And because I was getting by, I kept getting by. Until the pandemic came and said, address it now. Address it now. Now that's for business. Remember we just talked about how in us, there were things that we knew or we like to be in control, right? This also illuminated for some of us that we're impatient. Now we need to work on our patience, not only with other people, but with ourselves. Be more graceful with yourself. To say, today I'm trying. Today I'm going to get up and do the research. Tomorrow I'll do the research and I'll click the link. The next day I'll get up, do the research, click the link, and I'm going to fill out the form. Just day by day. Just keep going. Who said that earlier, right? If you just keep going. So it illuminated for us our inefficiencies. I think that's all good, yes? Yes. Absolutely, because if we know it, we can do better, right? Absolutely. Next. You see it? Yeah? Okay. Broaden your scope of knowledge in business. How many of you all that have this pandemic helped you with that? Everybody here should be raising your hand. Who is already doing Zoom all the time? Who is already going live all the time? Who is already charging for these webinars and doing, I'd love to see it. I love to see it. Let's talk. Let's talk afterwards, right? I was again one of those people who I knew it. I did it periodically, but I absolutely didn't leverage and lean in and maximize this money out here from my desk, from my living room, right? Right, so what it did was it broadened our scope of knowledge in business. And listen, we're business owners. We dream in color. Now, once we know it, go teach somebody else and charge them for it. Oh, yeah. How about a quick how-to on Zoom? Just $10. Right? We can get 10 people to do it. We just do it one time. The replay is $9.95. Missed it, no problem. Put expiration on it. It lasts 7 days. We're business owners. We leverage it, right? We leverage our opportunities. The next thing it did for us is it expanded community, yes? Because although before we thought that we were connected in a way, we can only get to so many people, right? We can only go to so many meetings, right? But sitting behind that computer, we're able to widen our impact in terms of the number of people we reach at one time, right? The number of people they reach because they like, share, and save, and all of that kind of stuff, right? And not only that, their replay that we put out there for free because we do freebies, because we serve the people, right? But when they see, they replay it and they share it to other people, we're reaching other people by proxy of them being connected to us, right? So I think that's all good, right? Because people need to see and know our name. So it's some good things that came out of the pandemic, right? That's some pandemic pros, all right? So let's talk about pivot and profits, okay? So now, first of all, every single thing I told you, you can make money off of. We already talked about one, right? Put $10 on, slap a tag on that. Maybe $29.99 for the low. Right? Right? We can do this for our business. We can do whatever it is that we choose. It makes sense for our market, right? It makes sense to us, really, right? So let's make sure that we maximize that. This is something that you probably already know because I know you're professionals and entrepreneurs, but it's so important. You don't know how many people who feel like there's such loss or devastation, or they have to go out of business now, or they can no longer do business in the way that they used to do business, or that there's not as much opportunity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The truth is, you can still make money in a pandemic. Is that a yes? Yes. You absolutely can. Have you been making money in a pandemic? Yes. Absolutely you can, and you should be making money in a pandemic. But I want you to know something. It's a mindset before it's anything. Because everything is created twice, yes? First in your mind, then in form. Somebody thought about this remote before they created this remote. So the mindset you carry determines the outcomes you create. Okay? It's important that you know what it is that you know and not believe it. Because a belief leaves room for doubt. Because a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. You can think something else, right? But what if you know it? You're not even thinking about it. Because I know my husband, the man of my dreams. It's what I know for sure, right? I don't have to think about that. I'm not worried about if my eyes gonna blink. I'm not gonna, right? Understand what I'm saying? But if I have to start thinking about it, I stop blinking. I'll be going, oh my goodness, did my eyes blink? Am I blinking? Right? That's the first thing you do, right? Because I believe it's going to do it. But I want you to go deeper, and I want you to know that you can make money. You can make money in as many different ways you can make money. Some of the ways you're already doing it, and perhaps I'll share with you some new ways. One, those virtual options. Right? Those virtual options. Get on there, what you used to do in some cases for free. Intellectual property is a real thing. You know that, right? What you learn on these jobs and while you're out here in industry, capitalize on that. Stop giving away your knowledge for free. The reason in many cases that you don't is because you don't believe you're worthy. And that's the truth. You have to know you're worthy. Sit right behind your computer, dressed from the waist up, don't get up. Don't get up and get your money. And get your money. Where can you sell a webinar? How can you tell people how to use conferences to network? How is it that you can teach people how to use Canva for PowerPoint? How is it that you can tell people how to dress for success? Who can you link? How can you create a networking event that people pay for? That you say, I can connect you to people, right? I can connect you to and start getting numbers. You made how much in your business last year? 100,000. I can connect you to 6-figure entrepreneurs. Sounds good, don't it? All right. That's a whole, let's talk after this, right? But it's a thing. It's a real thing. And it's been out here. We didn't just create this because this is the space we're in. People are now just becoming more aware, just like George Floyd, right? It's been happening. It's our job to become aware and to leverage. But you can only do that if you know you are worthy. You are worthy of everything that's out there. Right? There's another way to pivot to some profits. Subscription-based services. Have you all created some subscription-based services? You can write this down, right? Be it in your tablets or whatever the case may be. Subscription-based services. Can you create a course? It doesn't have to be in an LMS platform. Not create it where you know it. Create a PDF. You can do that. You don't even have to do that. You can save it on Word, save it as a PDF, and it'll turn into a PDF for you. Look at it. So the whole excuse of I don't know how and I didn't do it's not true. It's not true. You're just choosing to believe that you can. You're choosing to keep yourself separate from what's rightfully yours. Create a subscription to see your videos. People are already on YouTube, right? You have a YouTube channel. Do you know that you can get paid from YouTube subscribers? When you hit X amount of subscribers, you start to get paid from that? What if you started a campaign and worked on it for 1 year and consistently posted? What if you did that? Did you know you can do that for Instagram? For TikTok and every other one that's out here, right? I don't know all of the logistics and the numbers that go with it, but you can absolutely monetize each and every one of those. And it's really with your own content. But here's something else I want you to understand. Let's lean in because this is between us. Everybody else should understand, right? Right. Just repurpose the content you have. Ready? We're not creating anything new. Nobody's asking you to go back to the lab. You've already created and written down 1,000 ideas. Who has a CEO journal or something like it? Fridays are my CEO days. Don't call me. I gotta think. Because all week I've been executing roles and doing it, right? You've got 1 million ideas already. You've already jumped on live many times. You created a YouTube video. Hire somebody on Fiverr to edit that thing and put it out. Call it response. I see you. Yeah. Right? That's an idea, right? Start where you are. If you believe it's worth $9.95, put it at $9.95. But as soon as you believe it's worth $29.95, yesterday's price is not today's price. Right? Up it, right? Absolutely. And as soon as you believe it's worth $49.95, guess what? Mark it up. But whoever gets in before 9 o'clock can get it for the low, low price. Right? Absolutely. Create scarcity. People love feeling exclusive. I do. I know I do, and if I do, somebody else in the room does. Right? Somebody in my target market does. They'll be my target. They'll be my VIP. Create a VIP. Put a membership to it. All right. Okay? All right? Okay, subscription base. Let's keep going. All righty? Expand your price index. Here's the reality. The pandemic is real. Whether you believe it or not. The market says so. The IC News says so. Science says so. Right? So, with that being said, it is absolutely affecting money and the rotation of it, right? Some people are clean out of business. I redacted some of my business. And I started leaning into other things, right? But it's a very real thing, so it's important that you look at your price index. So what that means is, one, provide lower price options to address the current market. So if I charge $2,000 for a training, for a 1-hour training, that usually has to garner some type of sign-off.
right? To say, okay, what do we want to do? And typically, they want to train for the day, half day, right? So you're looking at 6, 8,000, whatever that case may be, right? Well, that typically garners some supervisory sign-off. Well, when the pandemic came, I immediately provided a virtual option. I began to immediately say, what can I get done without them having to go get permission? Where can they dig right into discretionary funds? We used to call it a petty cash. Yes, we used to a long time ago call it petty cash, and now it's discretionary fund. Real cute, right? But what can I do? So now, how about $500 for a 1-hour virtual training? Same material. I'm dressed on the waist up at the house, right? So right away we put that up there. Now the high ticket items didn't go away, right? At the time, or then, I would still have to do it virtually, but you still have to pay me. I didn't get that smart. You understand me? I'm still worth it. I know it. So that's still the charge. But I just wanted to give you some more options because I'm sensitive. Right? It's an emotional intelligence, right? Read the room, read the world, right? But lean into what you have naturally. Remember I told you I love being a woman. This is part of who I am innately as the woman I am. What is it that you can lean into of your own? Right? Capitalize on that. Maximize who you are. All right? Provide the ability to make a quick decision without approval. How does that lean into people's ego? Right? People like to be able to say, oh, okay. Well, no, and I say, well, if you need to speak with someone, oh, no, I'll make that decision. Okay. Right? But they kind of like that. We're just leaning in. That's it. We're still providing maximum service. We're still providing high quality content, right? We are still delivering on promises. We're still exceeding expectations. We are just reading the room. And where is it that we can expedite the close? Right? All right. Questions? Can we go forward? Yes. Okay, you getting it? You getting any notes? How is it so far? How are we doing? Great. Right? Getting something? Good. Let me tell you, this is so much, so very underutilized that I created a whole course on it. Increasing social media presence. This is free marketing. 100% free marketing. So there is no reason that you should not be maximized on it. You can turn it into profits. We talked about leveraging it, right? Or monetizing from Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, etc. You need to be showing up however many times your analytics and your target market says you need to do this, as many times a day or a month or a week, whatever that looks like for you. You have to lean in and start the conversation. So if you don't know that already, there's your opportunity. Here's what you'll do, and I'll give it to you quick. Jump on their line and ask a question. You want to create a call to action for them so that they can engage, and that ups your algorithm automatically, right? So they start to see you on their feed. Ask them, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. Be transparent. I love sharing my story. When I first started my first real business, if you will, I remember just sharing online what I was doing. I didn't have an LLC. I didn't have anything. I was just telling people what I'm doing. I'm so excited. I'm getting content ready for you, more than their mother, and this, that. And I got my first $1,500 contract. I think it was. Just from that. I was like, hold up, let me catch up. Right? I didn't know what to do. I knew what it meant. But I didn't really know what to do. I was just like, absolutely, I can do that. And then I went out to, it was in Arkansas. I was like, this is amazing. This is great. And it was wonderful because I was really just doing what I love to do. But I understood the value. And when you understand and you know your worth, you show up differently. You speak differently when you're online. You talk to people differently when you're in a room. You shake hands a little bit differently when you are engaging with one another, don't you? Right? So you have to know it. Remember, the mindset is first. So if you need help on that, start where you are. There's no shame in that. We don't go along our journey and turn around and wag our finger at our friends, right? Because we were once where you are. Right now. We don't care about how long it takes you. Because it took us this long. And I'm not tied to your journey because what you eat don't make me full. Right? I'm just just want you to eat. Yes. You're welcome to be a vegetarian, vegan, carnivorous, pescatarian. Help yourself, right? Just eat. Yes. Okay? Keep that mindset. All right? So increase your social media presence. Can we agree to do that? Yes. Good. All right? Now let's go a little bit deeper. All right? We're just about finished, so I won't be before you long. Okay? All right. So I want to talk about going deeper versus wider when it comes to profit and increasing revenue. We think that we have to network at every event or go to every event to network. We need to be cold calling. We need to be spreading ourselves all over, calling friends and family and making a list of 100, all of that good stuff. And while there is some value in that, we have to be discerning enough to know that when something like this comes up, for example, the pandemic, we don't have the ability to do what we used to do, and we know that that's all good, right? So we look at it as an opportunity to say, I don't need to spread myself out. I need to immerse myself further into what I have already, like repurposing content, like re-approaching those clients or potential clients or that pipeline that you had already. I just wanted to come back and let you know the pricing changed. Or we have more pricing options. Or I just wanted to let you know that we re-up some content that I thought you should know about based on our last conversation. Right? I also wanted to ask you if you knew someone, let them do the work. Do more with less. We still just have that one contact, but now they're working for us. And oftentimes, the only reason they're not is because we haven't asked. And why haven't you asked? Anybody guess? Well, tell me what you believe.
Because you don't think you're worthy.
Say what you said.
Because you don't think you're worthy.
Absolutely. And that's at a subconscious level. Because if I asked you that one-on-one, you would tell me, oh, absolutely, I know I am because ellipse, right? Dot. But the way that you function tells me something different. Right?
Right.
People who believe and know their worth, they don't care that you think they're arrogant. They don't care that you think that you all that. They don't. They come in and ask for what they want. And most times, people who don't believe in their own self-worth are busy talking about people who do. See, trying to bring them down. Because they need somebody to say out of outward, because them, watching them operate in their optimization or their optimal ways exposes their inefficiency. It tells me, dang, I knew that. How many times people have been talking, speaking, training, doing whatever you do, and you go, I can do so much better than that. I know my product is so much more robust than that. And you could have had the same opportunity, but you didn't manage them accordingly because you didn't know that you were worth it. Know your worth, okay? So I want you to think about going deeper versus wider. Don't meet nobody else. Don't do it for 1 minute, for 1 day, for 1 week. And just say, how can I re-immerse myself in what I already have and who I already know? What can I do differently? How can I rework it? We're not writing a new business plan. We're going to work the business plan. We're going to peel the onion one at a time, right? Layer by layer, okay? All right, be clear on deeper versus wider. Yes? Yes. Okay, cool. The next thing, I can't tell you this enough. Certify your business. Certify your, say that's Stephanie? Yes. Certify your business, the MBE, WBE, the hub, the SBE, all of that good stuff. Because what you get in that, first of all, companies and organizations oftentimes have incentives to work with minority businesses. So they're looking for us. I'm here to tell you, just as my own experience, if somebody else has something different, we'll talk about it. It's not always easy. It's tedious, applying and going through those. But do make a goal and say, I'll apply for 2 years. And let it work itself. Because once you apply for it, it's just out there in the works. Right? It's now out there in the ether doing what it does. You're still working your plan. Hire somebody. Can I get you on a project basis? $100. $99.95. Whatever. Right? Figure it out. Figure it out. That's what we do. We figure it out. You would do it if it was for your child. If your baby said, Mom, I have to have this project, and you knew nothing about it, They said, my grade is dependent upon it. No, you can't go talk to the teacher. No, they won't give any extensions. What would you do? You get on the phone with you. Hey, Shirley, did you know anybody who could help my son do? You know, okay. Well, who? Do you think they know anybody? You become resourceful. But so often we do for other people, including our children, what we don't even do for ourselves. And that's a shame. Because we're teaching our children who to be by the way we treat ourselves. My girls learn how to be a woman by how I'm a woman.
That's right.
My children learn how to be a wife if they choose to get married. It's their choice, right? By the wife I am to my husband. Right? Now, despite our best efforts, people gonna people, right? We're all at choice. Right? So some things we may not have taught them, but they go and do it because we have the dignity of choice, right? So we don't hold ourselves hostage to everything. I sleep so well at night because every day I got up and I tried. Every day I made myself aware. Every day I communicated and created a space for them to communicate with me. And the rest you just let it go, right? And that's kind of how you have to do with business. Get in there, do those get yourself certified, do a couple of them a year, then let it do what it does. Then go to your networking meeting or dig deeper. Whatever it looks like, whatever season you're in for yourself, whatever the goal is that you set. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Next, register to be a vendor. So now that's different than getting certified. You have to register on portals, right? On Toyota's portal or DISD's portal, right? And first of all the ISDs out here and everywhere else, you have to get registered in their portal, and they'll send you notifications. So you don't even have to go out and look and say, what's up for Vietnam? What opportunities are out there? They'll send it to your email. And then you can posture yourself around the ones that look best for you, that make the most sense for you. Can you be the primary on it? Do you need to join with someone else and be the secondary? What makes sense for your business? Just set the goal and don't stop until it's met. Right? Right. But go get signed up for all of the portals and the what do they call it? What's skipping my mind? Is it just portal? Oh, portal. I have to know that, don't I? All right. Here is the other one. Continuing education. And before everybody gets nervous, I'm not talking about necessarily going back to school. You can do that too if you want, right? You can say, I've been thinking about this degree. This is a great opportunity for me to go. But what I hope that you all heard, really everybody that came up here, but our DART president, what's her name? Nadine. Nadine. What I heard Nadine say is there's so much opportunity. We are hiring. We need so many people. People are leaving for whatever their reasons are, right? But that is actually pervasive in corporate. It's so many people that are hiring. It's your time. Whatever, however you want to show up, be it as an entrepreneur or as a seasoned professional, because you earn every bit of the experience you have. So if you choose to go back, right, and get a job, you get it based off of the merit of what you've done in the past, right? So you can absolutely do, you didn't stop doing one thing, you just made a new decision and added to the repertoire, right? So think about continuing education. If you want to show up as a business that has a wider scope, that has a wider bandwidth, go take a DEI class. That's hot. That's a hot one right now, isn't it? DEI or DEBI, right? Or DNI. Go and take an EQ class, an emotional intelligence. Go take a leadership class, right? And get a certification in it. It's a thing that, and here's the best thing about that, and why I always encourage this. Number one, listen, I'm never going back to school in my life for a grade. Right? These couple of masters don't have to do. Whatever they don't do, we won't have. But I'm a lifelong learner. I love knowledge and information. So if I can come in and get a certification just by showing up to do what I enjoy doing anyway, let's get the certification. And because the pandemic has froze so many colleges and schools, are offering CE and certifications for free. For free. It's incumbent upon you to do this research. Remember I talked about a CEO journal? You should have CEO days. That's days you're doing some R&D. What is it that I need to know that I don't know? That's it. And you have to sit down and do the work with that. So think about getting some certifications for yourself. And here's the great part. It is now your intellectual property. It's going to change the conversations you're able to have in a room. It's going to change the doors that you get ushered to. I always tell people I have 2 master's degrees. And when I was a full-time entrepreneur only, I used to tell people all the time that my degrees got me to the door. My performance kept me in the room. Right?
Right.
But listen, I'll take that door, I'll take that time at the door, or that usher to the door, right? Based off what I've done before. So what can take you to the door? What will usher you to the front door? Right? There are no handouts. Right? There's just none. You have to work for what you want. Okay? And that last one, get a job. Get a job. If you need money and you want to profit to it, there's no shame in that, right? Get a job. Go back. Remember how we talked about that experience that you had? You did that. You earned that. We are at choice. We are all free. We're so free we can choose bondage. Right? So free we can choose bondage. We make different decisions. So when one thing isn't working or at the speed we want, we just make a new decision. We don't hold ourselves hostage to what we wanted 5 minutes ago. I changed my mind, and that's my answer. That's it. No explanation needed, nothing qualifies you, no one else has to qualify your reason for making that decision. Know that you are worth any decision you make, and you hold yourself accountable, and you stand by what you do. Right? You stand by what you do. Because you're confident in who it is that you are. And if you make a mistake or it turns out to be wrong, we take the lesson, we are accountable, we apologize as necessary, we communicate our new decision, and we move on. And we don't let anybody hold us hostage to who we used to be. Right? You all ever had that from high school or somebody in your past? Say, girl, you still, whatever. Right? Well, I thought this was ladies only. Or gentlemen, have you ever, right? They'll say, have you ever, I remember when you used to. Don't move. Stay solid. So what I was asking you was, who are they going to talk to if you don't give them anybody to talk to? Right? So you set the pace of your conversation. You set the pace of what it is that you allow. Because if you allow that, that automatically gives them permission to go a little bit further next time. So make a decision to stop that kind of conversation. Obliterate that negative self-talk. Don't take it from yourself or anybody else. The past is the past. The decision, the moment that you're in now is actually a decision of the past, or are decisions of the past. The bill you're looking at, the person you married to, right? The outfit you wore. You thought of it first, right? You put it on earlier, and now you're sitting it. That's a culmination of the past, right? So if you want later on to be different, start right now making a new decision. You get it? Okay, so stay with it. Get a job. Okay? You can call it a side hustle. How I like to talk and think about it is it's a new client. It's a new client because it's funding my dream, right? Not only that, I'm learning a new or expanded skill set. I have the opportunity to learn a new skill, right? I have an opportunity to lead. This is how you can look at it. I have an opportunity to gain more intellectual property. I have an opportunity to expand my network. I have an opportunity to go deeper into my network, right? And cultivate those, whatever it is that looks like. And I have an opportunity to deliver on promise. I have an opportunity to provide an amazing, extraordinary client experience. As Stephanie said it earlier, it's great to be where you're doing what you love. You have an opportunity to shine. I'm shining. Right? DISD seems to be her biggest client. We like it because the check is deposited every 2 weeks. Right? Right? So look at it like that, and I want you to eradicate thinking anything you don't choose for yourself. I want you to eradicate holding on to social norms, what other people consider a social norm. Establish your own norm. A phenomenon is nothing but a person who decided to do something and other people agreed to do it too. You're a person. You do it and let the world catch up. Right? We see it every day. And we admire those people. We like it, but we don't take the opportunity to do small things so that we can be who it is we said we wanted to be as well. Get a job. Okay? All right, so I just have a few questions for you, and I want you can just yell it out or we'll do one raising hand, whatever that looks like. But I told you it was a workshop. I was prepared for that, so I was ready for you all to take notes. I prefaced this asking you to take notes, so I'm back to questions. My question to you is, how will you pivot your business to increase profit in the pandemic? Just based on what you've heard here.
Social media.
Social media, that's one. Anybody else?
Zoom. Change your mind.
Zoom. Who said?
Know your worth.
Who said? Who said it? I love to change your mind. Who said know your worth? Thank you, best friend. Who said know your worth? Absolutely. Zoom and social media. Free platforms that you can use.
Know your why.
Know your why. Know your why. That's so important.
Create a class.
Create a class. Yes, indeed. Create a class. Absolutely. Huh? 1999 for the low price. Go on first.
Say what you know and get paid.
Yeah, and do what?
Get paid.
Somebody get paid. Absolutely. We love what we do, but we can't do what we do without money. Even if that's just us showing up, we have to cover our bodies. It costs money. Right? All the things. Right? It all costs money. So let go of the notion of, I don't even have to get paid. That's just you covering up for you not feeling worthy. Own it. It's okay. This is a safe space. But we're letting that go today. We are letting it go today. We're going to think a new thought. We're going to choose to believe something else because a belief is just a that's it. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So what if you thought something else and kept thinking? Then you believe that, wouldn't you? So choose to believe something to the affirmative toward your own goals. Okay? All right, my next question is, this is next to last, I believe. All right? Let's think about it. What 3 things will you incorporate immediately to support your pivot?
Get a certification.
Get a certification. I love that. Then you can talk. You sitting next to me. She's shining today. Get registered in the vendor portal. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, indeed. That's true. Get registered in the vendor portal. Certify. Anybody else? And continue. Who said it? Yes, you did. Yes, continuing education. I have a freebie for you. It's College of South Florida, I believe. They have a leadership coming up right now, free, 100% free. So look up the University of South Florida, that's what it's called, Mamiya Business College or something like that. But University of South Florida, do your research on Friday. And see you out there, okay? I love that. All righty? That's it. I want to thank you all.
Where's your book available?
Out right for the low, low price. Yes, $20. So please do stop by the table and pick up a copy, okay? And let's and get a Christmas gift. She said it was a great Christmas gift for the low, low price of $19.95. So thank you all so much. I appreciate your time and thank you for shifting and pivoting with me as we work the room versus as we work the main room as opposed to that room. And thank you for your cooperation and engagement.
You were talking about certifications, you were talking about getting registered as a vendor, and for those of you who are interested in doing business with Cavallack, please get registered as a vendor. And you also talked about teen education. You dropped so many nuggets and so full of information. And we want to thank you. So let's give her another round of applause.
Good afternoon. My name is Esther Sandy. I'm Director of Outreach for Dallas Area Rapid Transit. And my sister, oh my goodness, you were so serious. And I enjoyed everything you had to say. There wasn't a single thing that you said that I did not agree with, and you gave me so much. Thank you. And so on behalf of Linda Gray and the Chamber, a small token of thank you for everything that you have given all of us. Let's give this incredible So it's time for a door prize. And so how many of you own your own business? Okay. So I'm going to give a door prize to that business that has been in business the longest. So if you've been in business for 5 years, raise your hand, keep it raised. If you've been in business for 7 years, keep your hand raised. For 9 years, 10 years, 12 years.
Don't forget our people back here.
Oh, sorry, 15 years. Wow, 20 years. Oh my goodness, 25 years?
We still got some.
Okay, we got some 30 years.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, 35 years? We have two. You two ladies, please let me know how long you've been in business.
I've been in business for 36 years. I am in a school on a Barbara dual school located in Lancaster, Touch Academy.
Wow. God bless you. 36 years. How long have you been in business?
In business over 40 years, with construction, self-business. Yes, it's a legacy business corporation that I enjoy working with.
Congratulations, and you win the prize. We have other door prizes, so you might win again or again.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you.
So I think that we have another speaker, but I think that it's probably a good time for everybody to just stand up for just a minute. Just kind of stand up and shake it out. I actually had a song that I want to sing together, but since I can't do Bluetooth, but it was I Am Every Woman. I know, right? I had the whole visual in my head. We were all going to be clapping, we were going to be singing. I had it all in my head, and then we had Bluetooth. It would have been on. All right, so just stand up and wiggle, and we're going to get ready for our next speaker. We're going to go ahead and continue with the program, and I'd like to introduce Tisley Netley to you guys, so let's give her a round of applause. Round of applause. Thank you. All right, Tisley.
I'll be down. Thank you all for hanging around after lunch. I know it's late in the afternoon. And I'm an introvert, so after talking to more than 2 or 3 people, I usually need a nap. Right? And so I definitely thank you all for continued engagement. And to Stephanie's point, because I'm an introvert and I usually need a nap at this point in the day, I was going to play some music. So I pulled up I'm Every Woman. That's going to be our song choice for today. And it's not going to be that loud if you don't have Bluetooth. That's okay. We're just going to make it work. So yeah, I'll hold it up to the mic. So hold on. This is the Whitney Houston version. We won't do the whole thing, just a little bit to wake us up this afternoon, right?
All right, clap, everybody. Yeah.
afternoon. We will be talking about planning and how no one plans to fail. No one plans to fail. How many of you have heard that phrase before? That people don't plan to fail? They fail to plan, right? So I'm Dr. Cynthia Medley, and I'm a counseling psychologist. Only about 5% of psychologists.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We want to give our presenter your attention. I know it's been a long day, but she came here, she's prepared, and we want to give her our attention. So thank you guys so much.
All right, and I want to know how this mic is. It's hard for me to hear. So again, I'm a counseling psychologist, and only about 5% of psychologists in this country today identify as Black or African American like me. Just 5%, right? Which is not a large number, surprisingly. The numbers are increasing, but to me, 5% is still pretty small. And I shared that piece with you about only 5% of counseling psychologists because I've been accustomed to being one of the only in a lot of the spaces that I move in. How many of you have often been the only in a room? The only woman, the only person of color, the only this or that, right? And so this has become a pattern for me through a lot of my experiences. And what I found is that this experience of being the only actually contributed to me becoming, in some ways, a perfectionist. I consider myself a recovering perfectionist. I'm still in recovery. So this experience of being the only started really early for me. I'll tell you just a little bit about how it started. In second grade, I was tracked into a gifted and talented program. And at the start of that school year, I was the only little girl, Black little girl, in that class. And then there was little Johnny. He was the only little Black boy in that class. Now, there were a lot of experiences that I had during that time, during that school year, that taught me some things about the world and expectations that people had of me. An interesting thing happened, though, by the time I got to third grade, little Johnny was gone, and I was the only person of color in that gifted and talented class. And so I was raised by a Southern Black mother. How many of you have a Southern Black mother? Amen for Southern Black mothers. And so being the only little Black girl in those gifted and talented classes, my mother would say things to me like, well, this is her main one. The way I send you to school is the way I want you to come home. Right? She meant my clothes, my hair, being the same way that she sent me to school. She would also say things like, don't make me have to come up to that school, right? Don't make people say anything about how you acted up there while you're at school, right? So there were all of these messages that I received that let me know that I had to be this perfect little Black girl. Because of course I didn't want the other students in my class to begin to think things about Black people based on my behavior, right? Based on me acting out of character. So all of those experiences, in my opinion, contributed to the perfectionist that I later became. Now, many of those things were good, right? And then some of them maybe not so good. The great thing about those experiences is I often was top of whatever it was, right? Because I had this expectation that I had to be the best. So often, I was pretty good, right? I often was the best. So I graduated at the top of my high school class. I went to one of the best, well, I'll just call it the best university in Texas, the University of Texas at Austin. And we stepped into a prestigious honors program, double majored in psychology. I left there and went to another prestigious college in Texas, Southern Methodist University. I got married before I completed my master's program. Then I went on to a PhD program. And as I walked across the stage of my PhD program, I was pregnant with my first child. So I had all of these experiences where I excelled, where I did well, where I did what I was supposed to do, right? I excelled academically. I excelled in my career. I excelled as a mother. I excelled as a wife. All of these different areas. Things were going pretty well, right? I was like, hey, I'm doing it. And then COVID hit me. Or shall I say, COVID hit me. How many of you have been hit by COVID in some way? Yeah. So my husband ended up getting sick, and I got sick. And he ended up being admitted to the hospital. Now, this was back in March of last year. We still didn't know a whole lot about what was happening with COVID. So he got admitted to the hospital and was diagnosed with COVID pneumonia. Hold on, I want you to see my little COVID in. And so here I am trying to figure out what is going to happen to him. He's in the hospital. I don't know if he's ever coming out. I'm hearing stories about people who don't come out about it. They go to the morgue, right? And so I'm trying to be encouraging to him while also nursing myself back to health because I also contracted with him. All of that while trying to help our son with online school. Let me tell you, I've been in education for over 20-something years, and now I do online workshops. I'm very comfortable, right? Training online, as Shirley was talking about. But I cannot stand virtual school, let me tell you. There was something about it. And maybe part of the reason why I didn't like it was because there was so much other stuff going on while I was doing virtual school. But he hated it, and I hated it. And I'm a nerd, I love school. But me and virtual school just do not get along. So I'm trying to deal with all of this. So in the midst of the pandemic, when I finally learned to nurse myself back to health, my husband got out of the hospital, I had to reflect a little bit, and I had to ask myself some questions. Sisters, do you want to be better or worse after COVID? For real, like I asked myself, do you want to be better or worse after COVID? So I had to make some decisions about what I wanted to do in my life, to be intentional about getting to that better if that's where I wanted to be. So our conversation today about planning comes from that context. So it may look a little different than some of the other workshops you've been in related to planning, but I hope that you will find it valuable to you, the way that we have this conversation. So I told you that most people don't plan to fail, right? We say that they fail to plan. So I'm going to give you 4 tips, ways that you can plan effectively, maybe more effectively than what you're currently doing. But 4 things you can do to plan effectively. The first thing you can do is to plan to pause. And I'm so glad that we've heard that message already a couple of times here today. Sometimes we have to plan to pause. Just like has already been said, the world stopped, school stopped. Whoever thought football, NBA would stop, right? Transportation would stop. Restaurants, bars would stop. So in the midst of all of that was an opportunity for us to stop as well, to pause. Now some of us, there's a couple of you, close your ears, guys. Some of us do not stop to breathe all day until we get home and snatch off our bra and our feet. Right? You've got to stop and breathe. COVID has given you this opportunity to stop, to pause, to breathe. Take that refreshing breath in and exhale the toxicity of your day. You should be doing that multiple times throughout the day. When you wake up in the morning, at your lunch break, before you go to bed at night, have I breathed today? Have I really just inhaled today? It also gives us an opportunity to reflect and to think and to assess where we are, where we want to be, where we want to go. So take advantage of that opportunity to pause, right, that COVID has offered to us. If you take that opportunity to pause, then you also have an additional opportunity to do this next recommendation, which celebrate your success. Yeah. If you are a high achiever like I am, a perfectionist like I am, which I assume many of you are if you have your own business, you probably have racked up a lot of successes. How often do you stop and say, girl, you did that? How often do you stop and celebrate the successes that you have? The benefit of stopping to celebrate your successes is that it gets you in that energy of gratitude. You're like, dang, I've done a lot. Thank you. Because probably you haven't done that by yourself, right? You had support from somewhere, if you believe in a higher power. So there are people and things that have supported you, that have been there for you, that have helped you to get what you've gotten. But it's still an opportunity for you to stop and reflect and celebrate those things that you have done, and to express gratitude for the ability to do those things that you've done. So with COVID, if you take that opportunity to pause, now your next step is to celebrate those successes that you've already experienced. The other benefit of celebrating those successes is it lets you know what you're good at. The things you've been successful at tell you, hey, I'm good at virtual workshops, or training other people, or educating, right? It also tells you, gives you some indication of what you're passionate about. And that's going to be important for you as you move forward. Figuring out what you're passionate about so that that pushes you forward. So you plan to pause and you plan to celebrate your successes. Next, we want you to plan to prioritize. Plan to prioritize. You've already heard a couple of people here today tell you, you cannot do it all. So you have to prioritize. You've got to come up with a list of what's most important. And if you're one of those people who's like, well, I don't know how to figure that out, what's most important? The way to figure out what's most important is to ask yourself, what are my values? What are the things that I enjoy? What drives me? What energizes me? What am I passionate about? Those are the things that should be at the top of that priority list. And making that priority list is actually going to help you with number 4 that we're about to get to. So you've got to plan to prioritize. Identify your values and align your life with those values. If you say you value family, but you ain't spending the time, no energy, or no, do you really value family? Right? So we've got to reassess. Prioritize the things that are important to us. Again, some of us realized we weren't prioritizing the things that we really thought were important. So this is an opportunity to do that. And as I said, this is going to help you with number 4 as well. Number 4 is to plan to dump or delegate. Plan to dump or delegate. What does that mean, Tiffany? Look, if there's something that is draining you, dump it. Whether that's a relationship, whether that's a job, I'm talking to myself right now. If it is draining you, dump it. If you don't like vacuuming, don't vacuum. Do the second thing, which is delegate, right? Hire somebody to come and vacuum for you, if that's an energy drainer for you. But the other way to determine how to delegate is, if there is something that is taking you too much time, delegate it. If it's taking up too much of your valuable time, then delegate it. There are lots of people who are out there who are willing to do the thing that you don't want to do. Other people who have businesses who would love for you to pay them to do the things that you don't want to do, that they can do, right? So we've got to be smart about this thing. So if there's something that is draining you, dump it. If there's something that's taking too much of your valuable time, you need to delegate it. So COVID has given you this opportunity to stop and pause and to say, what am I really good at? What do I love? What am I passionate about? What do I want to focus my time on? And what do I not want to focus my time on? One of the things that I was able to do during COVID, thanks to remote work, was to get back to my love of reading for pleasure. I read a lot of things for work, because I'm just a nerd that way. But I enjoyed reading for pleasure, and I had gotten away from that. So I was able to get back to my love of reading for pleasure. One of the books that I read was The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Anybody read that yet? Big Leap by Gay Hendricks? If you haven't, read it. Blew my mind. Now, I am sort of a DEI practitioner, so I always read things through that lens. There were some things there, I was like, okay. But there were pieces of it that did blow my mind and that made me shift, right, that mindset a little bit. And so Gay Hendricks talks about doing things that are within your zone of genius. Most of us, again, if you're a high achiever, you're good at a lot of things. That doesn't mean you have to do everything that you're good at, right? There are some things that you're just good at. There are other things that you're great at and that you love to do. And if you can focus your time on the things that you're great at and you love to do, guess what? Right? Success. Energy, right? Other people will be able to tell that, hey, you're really good at that, and you like doing it. So that's what COVID has given us the opportunity to do, right? To begin to focus on those things that we're really great at, that we love to do, to get rid of those things that are not serving us, that we can depend on other people for, that we can accept help and support for as we move forward. So if you're having difficulty with any of these things, I'm an affirmation coach, so I'm going to share a couple of affirmations with you to help you get through and move forward with this. Because the important thing is that we do not go back to business as usual. I keep hearing people say that. We want to get back to business as usual. Our politicians here in Texas are saying that. I'm like, look, this ain't usual. We can't get back to business as usual. That's just not going to work. We've got to think about this a little bit differently. I told you I've been in education for over 20 years. We cannot go back to the same way we did education before. It's not going to work. So don't go back to business as usual. That should not be your goal. But here are some affirmations to help you with planning more effectively. So we talked about planning to pause. An affirmation, if you find difficulty in that, is, I deserve to pause. Look in the mirror, say it out loud, yell it in the morning, I deserve to pause. When you need it, when you need to breathe, when you need to reflect, when you need a moment to reassess, you deserve to pause. Second affirmation, I am worth celebrating, right? If you have difficulty with planning to celebrate, looking back and giving yourself some credit for the things that you've done, you are worth celebrating. You have done some amazing things, right? If you don't think you've done anything amazing, ask the person next to you, girl, have you done anything that was, cool? And she'll tell you. Ask your family, ask your best friend. They'll help you figure out the things if you aren't at that place yet, right? Of self-awareness of being able to recognize what you're amazing at. There are people who have noticed and can give you some feedback on it. So you are worth celebrating. If you're having some difficulty with that third one of prioritizing, remind yourself through this affirmation that prioritizing protects your mental health and your mental wellness. Because you can't do everything. You can't do all the things, right? You've got to let go of some stuff. And the better you prioritize, the better your mental wellness is going to be. If you're focused on the things that serve you, you will protect your mental wellness. And lastly, if you're having difficulty with dumping and delegating, you can use this affirmation, I must dump or delegate for my business to thrive. Again, if you're trying to do all the things, it will not work. You will continue to stumble. So if you want to do better in your business, ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to let go of? Right? So hopefully you can use these affirmations to get you to the place, get you past that gap, whichever one of those. Plan to do things that you're having difficulty with. And you can find yourself in a much better place after this pandemic. All right? So, how will you plan differently than you did last year? That's what I want you to take away and think about as you leave today. How will you plan differently? I thank you for your time today. My information is here. Please follow me on social media. I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for that information on planning. So we would like to thank you so much for that presentation, and we have a token of appreciation for you. Thank you again so much. Let's give her another round of applause. So we have heard so many amazing women today during this Women's Business Conference. We do have one additional speaker, but before we do that, we do have another prize to give away. So I'm going to let Esther do that. So we're going, okay, perfect. So we have one more presentation, one more amazing woman that is going to share with us today, Victoria Stevenson. Can you guys give her a round of applause? Thank you guys so much, Victoria.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good. It's a pleasure to be here today and be a part of the Women's Leadership Forum. And I'm very, very excited to participate and support Linda Gray. She is just simply amazing. I've heard nothing but great things about her, and I've had the experience of working with her, alongside her, in sharing her vision and her leadership. So my name is Victoria Stevenson. I'm the President and CEO of Allied Supply Chain Support and Services. I sit on the committee, the legislative committee of the GSWBCC, as well as I am the president of the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter of the National Association of Women's Business Organization. I also sit on the Women of Color Committee for the Women's Business Council Southwest. So I'm very much engaged into empowering other women and empowering women of color. So let's kind of get started into what I am talking about today would be execution. So let's see if I can get that one. So I talked about being the president and CEO of Allied Supply Chain Support and Services. So what our company does, we are a business development consulting firm, and our niche is government contracting. So what does that mean to you? So we started our firm to help minority women-owned businesses on how to successfully navigate government contracting. It was important to me because I left corporate. I left working for a government agency, so my background really came from corporate banking and working for a government agency, and I identified that there was just a huge gap with participation when it came to minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And I think the last time that I sat in a conference, I realized that the woman-owned business that we had to sit and evaluate was not even present to talk about what her approach was, how did she address it, and we were making decisions without her presence. And I thought, and I kind of sat there and I said, you know, I don't want to participate and play this game anymore. I need to start a consulting firm so that I can assist minority women-owned businesses on how to successfully navigate government contracting. So with that being said, I went ahead and started my firm in 2013. And then it was kind of funny too, because when I started the firm and I was sitting there with the big boys, and he was like, oh, you need to set it up in state of Delaware, state of Wyoming. And I was like, what? I live in Texas. Start the company in Texas. Get incorporated in Texas. And that's what I did. So the company was actually incorporated in Texas in 2014. So let's make sure that I can use these. So I wanted to first start out with the sky is the limit for women-owned small businesses. And I would be remiss not talking about government contracting because I wanted to kind of share with you the importance of government contracting and why it's so important for women-owned businesses and minorities. So we've heard a lot about getting certified. Well, one reason why it's so important for minorities and women-owned businesses is that, first thing, the government procures everything. So that means it procures goods and services. And what do you offer as a service offering? goods, services, and products. And it is a mandate that the government has to procure a particular spend with socioeconomic companies. And a lot of us, we just are not aware of that. And also that your tax dollars helps pay for that. So that was something that was just huge for me. It was like, wow, I'm paying tax dollars, but I'm not even getting an opportunity to participate on any of these opportunities. And I thought, again, I have to be able to be a voice and advocate for women-owned businesses. The other is that it creates sustainability, and it provides stability, and it also diversifies your revenue streams, and it provides a means to an end. And the reason that I made that last statement, provides a means to an end, because I want to talk to you and really go deep as far as being a woman business owner, as well as being a minority, a person or individual of color. Because of our background and where we come from, and also being a woman, we wear many hats, and we have to learn how to shift. So during the pandemic, we talked about pivoting, we talked about planning, and now we're going to talk about executing. Because we're wearing so many different hats, am I truly executing effectively? So, how do we execute effectively? If we have our own business or we're interested in starting a business, and I think I'd like to ask a question now, because I know we had raised our hands like how long we had been in business, and we want to, I think there was someone, congratulations to you for being in business for over 40 years. So if you could raise your hands, how many of you are women business owners? Awesome, awesome. Then you know it takes true grit to have your own business. It takes confidence. It takes the stamina that, you know, I really want to do this, and I really want, and I'm very passionate about what it is that I'm doing. But before you can play the game, you have to know the game. Otherwise, you're just lost if you don't know the rules. So I'm a chess player. So I know the difference. If you got a board, you got the board set up with the pawn, the rook, the bishop. But if you don't know that queen got everything coming, you're going to lose, right? Correct. If you don't really know how to play the game. So when we started Ally, because we were educated, we needed to educate our clients. So you have to get educated, get empowered, and then you can execute. And the reason that I talked about being empowered, because once you're educated and you're made aware, you want to get going. You want to move forward. You want to put your best foot forward. And I also thought about get educated. As far, you know, when you think about minorities and women-owned businesses, that was one of the whole reasons for me to start my own firm, was that I found out very early in the game, we didn't have access. Nor did they didn't have access to us, we didn't have access to them. We weren't aware, we were very much unaware, and we weren't educated on the process. So how can we effectively execute, right? So you become very powerful when you effectively execute. So we're going to talk about 4 key elements here. Purpose, defining success, identifying your niche. We talked a lot today about being intentional, and positioning. And that's the part where I want to really dive in deep, because that was a learning experience for me. So when we talk about purpose, when I started the firm, I had a purpose. And as I was in corporate America, and I left corporate America in an executive leadership role, but I had a burning desire, and I noticed through all my years in corporate America, I was always for the underdog. I always wanted to go help and assist those that were underrepresented or misrepresented. It was just a natural instinct of mine when I was in banking. They couldn't figure it out. Vic, you always going over across the track. Vic, you always going to get this client. Because I saw that, why do we not have them as a customer? So it was always important for me to be a voice, advocate, and represent those that were not educated, made aware, or less fortunate. So that was my purpose for opening my business or establishing my business. I truly wanted to help. I truly wanted to help businesses grow. I knew how to financially put your business together. I knew how to do your taxes. I knew, but there was one key element that was missing, is how do you become sustainable? And what really helped Ally is that we went after government contracts ourselves. We found it out very early in the game that we had to become a prime of some specific trade. We also had to become a prime as a consulting firm. So we provided consulting services, data analytics, anything that had to do with equity assessment, anything that had to do with an underrepresented community. So if there was a disparity in that area, we provided this disparity study unto this day. So I'm going to be kind of integrating allied success in this presentation today. So I'm going to talk about when we first made our first million in revenues. You know, we're going to talk about success. So I really want to have a real talk with the women here today, because it was not easy. I have walked, I have cried, I have, you name it, I've done it. I spend nights up, it's like, wow, what is going on? Because when we started the firm, we were helping so much, we weren't making money. Because we can't make money off of, okay, let me keep consulting for $150. I heard it was at $19.99. I couldn't keep doing that. And then I came from making money. I put my 401k, I invested into my business. We're going to talk about investing into your business as well. But then I had to have a conversation with Jesus. I said, okay, Lord, you know, and I've heard some great things here today. You can't be everything to everybody. Now I'm talking to the woman, because we put everything on our shoulders until this day. So what I'm sharing with you, I'm sharing with myself. So when I began to look at it very closely and said, okay, you can help, but why don't you help by leading and demonstrating? And once I made that decision, the consulting firm, the consulting piece grew, because I was able to go to agencies and really have conversations with them about the services that we provide. That's a part of execution, because when you are really good at what you do, and I heard someone talk about being a perfectionist, well, that weighed a lot on me too, because realistically, I'm not perfect. Is any of us in here perfect? And I want to do it right every time. But look at the pressure. And we as women, we just bring that pressure on to ourselves. The other thing that I advocate for women on is, we have done a study at NAVA, and the average, and we advocate in Washington, D.C., and we are sitting there with them and we explaining that we need the tools to get us from, okay, $350,000 in revenues. How do I become $1 million producer in revenues? We need tools. If we do not become innovative, then we will not be able to compete in the marketplace as a woman on small business, let alone a minority. So we need to seriously think about that and consider it. So purpose. You need a purpose when you start your business. Something needs to drive you to get out of that bed and believe in it and believe in service of what you want to provide to your customer, to your client, because you want to be the best at it. And you want to give them the best service. And I truly believe that. I wanted to, every client that came into our office, they had my undivided attention. That was our niche. We'll talk about niche. That was, you have my undivided attention. I think the Cavallack block, she talked about that. And I love people and talking to them. So you have to identify truly what your niche is. I'm going to go ahead and get to that. Well, okay, before I get to the niche, we have to talk about what the success is like. But I'll finish that thought. You really, whatever your service offering is, you have to identify, especially because of the pandemic and you had to pivot, you had to plan, within your services, what can you truly offer that's unique, that's different, that can really service your client? That is any problems or issues that your client has, how can you provide a solution? So I want you to think about that and kind of marinate on that a little bit as we talk about what does success look like. So since I was thinking we were going to be in a breakout session, I'm just going to ask a question here. So, Benita, what does success, define success for you? What does it look like for you?
Well, it's hard to measure success. I think all depends on your values. So, that's a hard question. Define it for us.
I will. Okay, so can someone else share with me, what does success look like to you? Define. Go ahead. Some happiness. I like that.
Completing the goals that you put before yourself.
That's a good one. In the back, all the way to the back?
Passive income.
Yes, okay, I like that. Did I hear someone over here?
I think success for me is making sure that my employees are taken care of. I want to know that they're reaching their financial goals along with me.
That's good. I like that. So I wrote down some things, and forgive me with glasses and everything else. I can't see far and can't see close, so that might be telling me something, right? So what does success look like? Of course, increase as a business owner or as a woman, increase revenues. So we talked about that. Quality of life, peace of mind, accomplishments, being recognized as a source for solutions, and putting people to work. That's a good one. And then competitively build your brand. And then to implement a blueprint system. So that was one of the first things that Ally did. We have our own proprietary system called Follow the Blueprint. So we incorporated it, and once that was done, it was like, that was just one of our milestones that was tipping towards success. But I also want you to think about, when you're thinking about defining success, it may not mean the same thing that it meant when you first started your business to what it might mean today. Think about that for a minute. Because when I first started the business, I was on a high. I was executive management. I decided I'm starting my own firm. Here we go. Let me open up my own consulting firm. We're going to make some money. And I'm going to be helping people. And I look back, I'm like, God, dog, I'm running out of my 401k money. I can't put no more money in here. And that's the first thing that we do wrong, too, as a woman. Why am I taking my money when I should be able to go and access capital from other venture capital, a bank? But I put my own money into it, and that's another story we'll have over some vodka and tonic, right? Or margarita. We'll talk about that later, but I had to really look at what defining success meant to me, because I'm a person, I don't like to fail. And that was a lot of pressure that I put on myself, like, oh my God, okay, I want to do it right. I want to do it right the first time. We got to mitigate risk. no reason. And then I trusted the people that were in my circle, and then someone stole $100,000 from me. That tore me up. That really did. That I was like, God, dog, I'm not going to start this. I'm finished with Allied. I just don't see how I'm going to be able to do this. So that kind of just, it hurt. And then when I looked at success, I thought I was a failure with these blocks and various issues that were arising in my business. But what propelled me forward is that my purpose. Think about executing. That's what drives you, because I made a decision, good, bad, or indifferent, that I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a part of their success. I knew what government contracting could do. I helped a company go from 9 to 14 million to a $400 million firm in the space of 4 years, government contract. So I knew the success of that. And it was important to me to share that with women-owned businesses. So here, we'll talk about your niche and being intentional. So when we started the firm, we always talk to our clients about, and I heard someone speak, it was one of the agencies that said, when you come up to a procurement specialist or contractor specialist and you tell them you can do everything. Well, you are the contractor specialist, the procurement specialist is looking at you like, hang on, what? You can do what? You can do everything? Come on. I need you to do some research and find out what are our needs. And then now hone in on how you can provide solutions for us. And so that's why you have, so during the pandemic and during when we talked about pivoting, that's what Allied did. We kind of sat back and we thought, wow, what's going on here? And I really did get tired of talking to me, myself, and I, because I live by myself, and I have a conversation every day, and I'm like, man, this is me, myself, and I, we're done. This is, I can't do it anymore. And then I began to think about our services that we offer and what we're really good at. And guess what was so big? DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion. They needed equity assessments. Then came law enforcement assessment. Man, I was like, dang, we doing it. This is great. And we just started, I can't tell you how many proposals we had submitted, bids that we had submitted. And we were sitting here having conversations with our customers, with our clients, like, how can we strategically come in and help you look at your DE&I? Is it really equitable, your program? Do you even have a program? We had people call us once they found out we were there. Can you put a DEI program together for us? We don't even have one. Sure we can. So you see, don't give up. There's something that you offer that your client is looking for, that you can provide. And be intentional about it. That's one of the things I think that has contributed to our success, and I think it was Anita that had talked about it earlier. Don't just show up just to be showing up. Your time is valuable. Have a plan. Be ready, know why you're in the room. Whenever I go somewhere, you best believe I'm intentional. And I don't really be there that long, because there may only be 3 or 4 people that I want to talk to, I want to make a connection with. So that is a key word too. All right, can you effectively make a connection? So that means you have to research your client, find out a lot about them, what it is that they like, what it is that they want, what it is that they need. And then you begin to make a connection with them. Now here's one, positioning. So Allied, we had already made our $1 million in revenues. And I decided in 2016, after taking the Goldman Sachs small business class, that I wanted to expand the division into becoming a building construction material supplier for local, state, and federal agencies. And that's exactly what we did. So I have one division that is consulting. It is, we help disparity studies, etc. And then I have another division that I expanded that has now just become my baby, to where we supply building construction materials, and we specialize in steel. And I'm like, steel, man, how did I get rebar? Then I started studying on it. Then I got crews together, and then miscellaneous metals. Then on top of it, and it started to get sexy to me a little bit. Oh, nuts and bolts, studs. We can this is great. This is great. So positioning. So positioning your firm to really be successful, to be competitive. You have to, and to gain access to key decision makers, implementing a blueprint system, and then also evaluating your model. So the last thing I want to talk about with positioning that really resonated with me is that I have been chasing a client for quite some time. And then I realized that's really not my customer. And I kept wondering, why are we not winning any work with them? And I found out, it really wasn't our customer for whatever reason, capacity, they were looking for something else. So that's when you have to stop, because now you're out of line with your business. You're not positioned to propel and move forward and to be successful. And dispel the myth of being a small business. You know, when you say, oh, I'm a small business, okay. The SBA defines, you know, so when you think about the revenues that the SBA said that you could have as a small business, so don't think, oh, small, that you're out of the game. That's not, so that's a myth. So definitely diffuse that. And now is the time for you to really look at your business development. If you have to create another department, and when you're saying create another department, it may just be 3 of you. It may just be one person, but your mindset has to change and say, from 8 to 3, I'm in this role. But from 3 to 5, I'm business development. Even if you're that one person, you have to dedicate that time to business development in order to effectively execute and win and be successful to go to the next level. So successfully, you need to find your purpose, define success. You really need to define what does success truly mean to you. Identify your niche and get in a position so that when opportunities present itself, you're ready. And now I'm going to leave with you a call to action. One thing that I have found between other cultures is that they collaborate very well. Women, if we learn to work together, share best practices, it's okay to share best practices. Don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to give everyone your IP, but when you give and share, you're helping and influencing someone else. There's not a bid that a proposal that I submit that I don't put another woman business owner on that bid with me. Build strategic alliances with women that are outside your industry and outside your state. I have been very effective in doing that. You're talking to other women that are in other areas and experiencing and talking about their experiences, but we've learned how to work together. And then get involved. Please get involved. So if there's associations, agencies, organizations that's within your industry, go be a part of that association, because there's other people there that you can network with, they understand it, and guess what? They have business. You can team together. That's another revenue stream. Invest in your business. It will pay off. Please invest in your business. So the sky's the limit for a woman-owned small business. Every time they said I couldn't, I said that I can. Thank you.
Closing up this wonderful event, and Linda has something she'd like to say.
What I have to say is not a whole lot. I would just like to, make a statement that Stephanie has put a lot into this program today. So let's give her a round of applause. She has done great things about this young lady. Greatness is written all over her. So Stephanie, I would like to present to you a thank you. Here.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it. This has been such an amazing event. We've had some, amazing presenters that have shared with us so many amazing and encouraging words that I'm sure that all of us have taken something from it. Whether it's involving your personal life or your professional life, we've all been able to take something from it. So as we close, I'd like to introduce Annie Holmes-Partee, who is the director and my boss of the Dallas ISD Department.
Who I am so honored and grateful to work with. I feel so inspired and motivated today. I would like to say good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon. On behalf of this phenomenal woman, Miss Linda Gray, and the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce, thanks to each and every one of you for attending the Women in Business and Leadership Conference. What an overwhelming success. Let's give a heartfelt appreciation to all of the presenters, the sponsors, and everyone that helped to make this a success. That you have done speak so eloquently for you. There's an old familiar saying, I'm sure you've heard it. People perish because of a lack of knowledge. And we certainly hope that the knowledge that you have obtained today will enable you to thrive, survive, grow, move your company to the next level of success, and embody today's theme, which is to survive the storm. Today's objective was simple: to connect your business to the resources that you need. And I cannot think of a better way than like-minded professional women who are equally yoked in many ways to come together and to lift one another and to be on one accord. With these PPE essentials, and it simply came from our presenters today. We want to do not ever settle for less, because excellence is available. Keep moving forward, and in doing so, help others. Give to others, support others, be one another's keeper, and the sky is the limit. And last but certainly not least, may we all embody today's sub-theme, which is to what? Which is to pivot, to plan, and to execute. Again, thanks to each and every one of you. Safe journeys, and God bless.